Welcome back to the Bourbon and BS podcast, everyone. This is episode 273, and happy Whiskey Wednesday, Nate.
Happy National Bourbon Day.
That too. Even more specifically, yes. Very, very good. Way to one-up me from the beginning.
Well, I mean, every Wednesday is Whiskey Wednesday.
That's right. That's right. Smooth. No, so for those that were looking for us last week on the live, had some family function. I had my niece graduate from high school, and that's something that, I just didn't want to miss, It's family and things like that don't happen that often, which is just great to see. So I was happy to do that. Sorry I wasn't there. Sorry, we couldn't have the show, but happy to have you guys back.
We had a good just chat room
in
the Facebook. It went till about 1 a.m.
You guys went to about 1 a.m.
Yeah, you did.
I did not. So I want to bring on. So we had no audio. I say, does anyone else not have audio? Can I see? No, that's going right. See if anyone else has audio here. Make sure.
Mine's still on the.
I'm just gonna do this.
Mine's still on the.
I have audio. So Austin, maybe kick it back on. I got audio on my
Mine
my iPad.
Finally caught up.
All right, good start for those listening on the audio, just on the iPad or the podcast apps. Like, what are these guys talking about? Like, I don't get it.
Jesus.
Boy,
is technology.
I'm just gonna bring him on.
Yeah.
What's up, Jonathan? Say
How's
hi
it going,
to
guys?
There we go.
I forgot it was an audio show because of the no audio thing.
Yeah. Jonathan Herring with Forged Cigars. He is a repeat guest. He was actually, so just to give you guys some background tonight, so hopefully we can get it rescheduled. Happy to have Jonathan on. He was actually going to be on regardless about early on in the day. The original one, if you guys saw the post today, we want to apologize for the last minute reschedule here, but we had Kave from Rabbit Hole, founder Rabbit Hole. He was going to be on the show tonight, as was Justin Andrews, who had been on the show before as well, who was kind of behind the Diesel Forged, I guess, in general, arm of Diesel Cigars. And we were going to do their brand new Founders Collection Boxer Grail. So that's going to be something we're going to try to get on the books very, very soon. We've got the cigars, we've got the whiskey, and we're looking forward to getting them on if we can. So Jonathan was going to be filling in for Justin. He was having an illness. So, and then Kave had a last-minute reschedule as well. So we're going to be rolling with the punches here tonight, and that's going to lead us into the part two, which was the show must go on. So we had to completely reformat the show for tonight, and we appreciate Jonathan being a good sport, going to grab this bottle that we've got tonight, and for you guys tuning in still, sharing, liking, all that good stuff. So thank you, Jonathan.
Oh, happy to be here, man. Like, it's been a while. I think the last show was almost your 200th, maybe.
Really?
It was one of the big ones. It was one of the hundredths. I don't know which one. I think it was 200.
Okay.
I think that's where I broadcast the Team Nate shirt for the first time.
I remember that. I don't know if that was the last time you were on, though.
It was.
Really?
Episode 200.
It's a steel trap up here.
Yeah, we had the WD Saffel bourbon.
Which I really like that.
I feel as though that you have gone back and forth from Team Nate to Team Steve at times in the comments, just for the record.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely times when Nate drives me back to Team Steve, but I feel like I kind of live on the side of Team Steve. But it's kind of like, you
don't have a shirt. You don't have a shirt. I got it.
Yeah, you got those divorced parents. You live with one, and sometimes you go over to the other ones.
I get it, sort of. I don't know if that's the best.
Bad analogy.
Yeah, no, it wasn't good. Anyways, tonight we are going to be, I want to thank our sponsors. Let's get them on here. You guys, patreon.com/Bourbon and BS podcast. We have 3 different tiers on there. We appreciate the support. Just little stuff. We're a little show. So we've got a new laptop here. Seems to be working really well. So hopefully you guys can hear us and see us very well. And we have a smooth show every week. And then also Venmo, you can do at Bourbon and BS if you want to kick us a one-time contribution for a bottle. You can always send a note on what you want us to spend it on, that kind of thing. And we'll do our best to oblige by that. And then also Tinderbox at Easton. We've got the Rey Mundo Oscuro that is available in 2 sizes right now at Tinderbox at Easton in Columbus, Ohio. this Robusto. What's it say?
Robusto Oscuro.
Just the Robusto, and then I think we have the Larga as well. So 2 sizes there at Tinderbox at Easton. Also want to thank Altus USA, whoever gives him the most attention. That's right. Altus USA, we've got not their cigars tonight. Again, completely had to kind of reschedule this or regroup here with this show. So we've actually got the third sponsor tonight, BS Cigar Company, the Golds, made by Placencia, is going to be our second cigar tonight.
I thought I grabbed a gold and a silver. Nope, turns out I just grabbed 2 limited edition silvers.
Well, I had some golds for you, so we're good.
Worked out well.
But happy to have that, and thank you all to this still for normally the second cigar and helping us with this show, keep sponsoring us. So thank you very much. And then also, what do we got here? Buyjack.com/bourbon and BS for any shirts. We both got the podcast shirt on. I've got the black and gray. You got the red and black. Pour one more, light up another. We'll figure this out together. So check that out along with some 3/4 sleeves, hoodies, and such like that. And we'd love to have you guys supporting that. That's it. It's business.
Right now would be a good time for some little music. You do the things and you just hit it with some music and then you go into the show.
I think, yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Well, maybe get like a live band, like the late night shows.
Hey, Angelo, what are you doing on Wednesdays?
Yeah, Angelo's been on here before. Have him kind of lead us in. I like that. We'll put that on the board, the vision board there.
All right.
All right, I'm lighting up the Robusto here of the El Rey Mundo Oscuro. Jonathan, you want to tell us a little bit about this?
So El Rey is a brand that's been part of like the STG world since like '96. So like you got Forged and you got General Cigars. General Cigars bought Villazon, which was Punch and Hoyo and El Rey Mundo back in so like back in 1996. So it's been around. It was always kind of a catalog brand, a brand that we used inside of like Phillips and King and all these catalogs that sell directly to retailers. And then when we started the Forge thing a couple of years ago, we started it, I guess, almost 3 years ago now, 2.5 years ago. We decided to bring it back out because it's just a great cigar. So it's a Connecticut broadleaf wrapper, Honduran binder, Nicaraguan, Dominican, Honduran filler in it. So it's a great lower price cigar, great for the price, and it's been a big seller for us. So since we brought it back to brick and mortar, it's just been a constant mover.
It's super interesting, the packaging on this, right? So you got the I don't have the box here in the studio, but I mean, you've got a basic natural wood box, slide top. You got the logos on there. And then, like I said, it's just very, very classic, traditional packaging. And then when you open it up, do you have one there with this on there that you can maybe?
I don't have a wrapped one.
That's not a problem. I'm going to put us solo for a second here. So you can kind of see, and Nate's holding up the tissue. It is a fully wrapped in tissue paper with the cigar band. And again, very classic looking El Rey Mundo, handmade on there. And that's going to be how it comes out of the box. And when you take that off, you're going to basically get a naked cigar.
Very dark and oily looking.
Very
cigar.
dark. Very dark. It reminds me a little bit of, besides the band, sometimes when you get like the was like custom rolls, you get a custom roll from somewhere, and they wrap it up in like newspaper or something like that, and you get it out of there, and it's just super, like, got this big sheen on there. That's what this reminds me of, and it's a beautiful wrapper. It's not necessarily, it's a little toothy,
rough looking.
Rough.
Mine looks a little rough.
Oh, you do have the bigger.
I got bigger veins. I got a couple little spots, but
it is does yours have a sheen to it?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
And when it rolls across table, it wobbles a little bit.
Fair enough.
But I've been in the cigar business for 9 years. I've never heard that test, but I like it. I'm going to start doing it.
Well, I'm going to start doing it
in shops. I'm just going to start
the wobble test.
The
wobble.
Does that
cigar have a curve to it? Like, what the heck?
No, I mean, this cigar is just kind of like a little hidden gem that it's fun because it's a great price point. You get it out, and the tissue paper kind of draws the eyes to it. But yeah, it's a fun one. It's kind of it's kind of a rep special. So the Forge reps, we all smoke a lot of El Rey del Mundos and El Rey del Mundo Naturals, which is our other line. So it's a favorite of ours.
Yeah. So at the Tinderbox, where we're both based out of here in Columbus, Ohio, we love the cigar, and you've got some loyal buyers, but it definitely has fallen to the wayside. And I want to kind of put that on the board here for you to talk about is Forged Cigars, because I think that STG, or basically it's General Cigars, the portfolio was so vast,
right?
And this was a brand that, I mean, in my opinion, I would say if you're a General cigar rep, General is the brand for those that don't know that, but if you're a cigar rep, you're not going to focus on this.
Mm-hmm.
This is just not something you would push. It's, to us, it's like this classic. It's got this, richness to it. It's just a really inexpensive relative to the rest of the line. But I mean, as far as a rep, I mean, before you guys broke it apart, the portfolio, I mean, you were with General only before the split.
Yes. So I'm the only guy that
push
actually
this?
came
Was
over.
this a big seller for you guys, or have we seen an uptick, or what's going on?
Well, I think it came over right about the time the Forge thing happened. So it was like, I think it was either, we've done a lot. So I think it was pretty close to the time we came over. It might have been, no, it was, I think, about the same time, because
it was before that. I know that because we had it before.
Okay. So it might have been we were just bringing it in right before then. So, but there's definitely been an uptick for it, and that's why we did the split. So General Cigars had, a 20-page price list of products, and so when I was a General Cigar rep, you go in and you can focus on, Macanudo, Cohiba, Punch, CAO. You can focus on all these brands. You don't necessarily make it to those brands that don't get the attention they deserve. And so when we started the Forge thing, we were able to highlight La Gloria again and highlight Partagas again, and then bring some brands onto the fold like El Rey del Mundo, and Diesel is getting the attention it deserves, and it keeps growing as well. So it's been a really successful business move, one that I didn't even really get at first, and I realized why that's above my pay grade now.
I mean, that split does have to, I mean, like, again, I mean, when you're selling the Cohibas, the Macanudos, the even like Punch, like the other iconic brand names, it's an easier sell, right? I mean, from a rep standpoint, from a retail standpoint, El Rey del Mundo, you got a tissue paper cigar that, and then you take it off and there's not even a band on it, and some people don't know what it is. It's something that I'm happy to see that you're seeing an uptick, because it is a classic blend and brand. And this Oscuro, I really enjoy this cigar.
Yeah,
we have some kind of cool little things about this brand. Like with the El Rey, we have these little miniatures, like almost like little cigarillos.
Really?
That are hand rolled, and we have them in a Oscuro and a natural. And my shops down here in Texas go crazy over them. Yeah. I mean, they're reordering 10 boxes a week of these little guys, and I thought they wouldn't sell because they're only a couple of dollars off what the big cigars are. But they've done really well. And then we've added the El Rey Natural line, which has been a huge success. One of my favorite cigars is the Rectangulare in that line. And we've got a new one coming out that I can't talk about yet, but it's coming in the next couple of months.
Will that be at the PCA, which is the annual trade show? Are you going to be announcing that there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So third addition to the El Rey line.
Well, it's cool to see also that you're kind of, after all this time, you're also expanding some new things with the line. I don't think people get it all the time that, the brand can kind of go dead if there's no attention to it. And, you've got like a brand like this that maybe you have some people that are smoking it fairly regularly, or this is their go-to smoke. It just stops appearing, and they're like, what happened to it? I'm buying it all the time. It's like, well, that you're in a very, very small minority. And
I always tell them they should have bought more. If you would have bought more, this wouldn't have happened. And put it directly on that single consumer that's trying to support the brand.
Their
just
fault.
Bought 1 million cigars.
Their fault.
Exactly.
That's terrible.
No, it's a fun brand, man. It's fun to walk into stores with, and it's just unassuming and a good cigar at a great price. So it's fun, man. I enjoy selling it.
I feel like it's one of those cigars where, like, it's really up to reps and retailers to turn customers onto. It's not necessarily because it doesn't really have the name and the history where customers are just walking in asking for this cigar.
I agree, but the one thing I will say is, like, in your shop in Tinderbox, it's a little different because you're behind the glass. But in stores where they just walk through the humidor, something about the tissue paper like draws them in. It's funny because we have a couple of sizes that aren't in tissue paper, and the ones in the tissue paper move faster, even though people don't even know what they're getting under that cigar necessarily the first time. So the tissue paper really draws them in. It's something different. It's a different look to it.
Yeah, it definitely stands out. Again, there's a little bit of that mystery, like you said. You don't know what you're getting, but I mean, it kind of like, why is it wrapped in tissue paper? But then you see more recently, I'd say the newest one that would really kind of equate to that, I think, where it's going to be completely masked, if you will, is like the Leaf by Oscar. And that's been a phenomenon, I feel like, where it's like, people look at it and it's wrapped in another tobacco leaf. It looks ugly, and people like, what is that? It's eye catching, and you have to explain it. So then there's conversation about it.
Yeah, absolutely. There are also people give it really mean nicknames, which there's still a lot of by giving it the mean nicknames. So that's fine.
This one?
Yes.
What is it? A feminine product?
It sure is.
Okay.
And but customers walk in and they're like, I want 10 of the cigar, and so it's,
you can say that. I mean, it's not a bad word.
You can say it. I'm just not
tampon.
Yeah. So, but customers walk in, they're like, give me 10 of them tampon cigars. And
now you can say it. I said it.
Yeah.
Right, now everyone said it. Nate, say it. Say tampon.
Tampons.
All right, good.
Steve had to break the ice.
But
anyone watching on the feed? I want to see tampon on the feed.
Wait.
It's not a mild ladylike cigar.
I don't see a tampon. I said I want. All right, that derailed quickly. How strong?
Luckily, you can't post pictures.
104.
I'm kidding, Jonathan. What you said you like this cigar though? You like this blend?
Absolutely, yeah. I smoked quite a few of them, so I mean it's a regular rotation cigar for me out of our huge portfolio. So to me, it's stood the test of time, and like I said, sales have just been really solid on it. So it's spreading, it's getting bigger. We're adding like 5 new reps to Forge, so like it's only going to get better placement and more sales out there, and it's been really good for us. That's
good to see. And we have a friend of the show also that now works for Forged.
Yes,
who's been
very
on several
excited.
times. He's actually the rep in this area now, which is Ryan Ponist. So,
all right,
we'll be because
Ryan is a valuable addition, man. He's a valuable addition. I worked with him up in Ohio and Indiana, and I don't know if he had Indiana, but definitely in Ohio. And always kind of looked up to him as a rep and the relationships he had with his customers. And he's a huge addition to our team, and it's going to be really good for Forge brand. I think he's doing like maybe Michigan, Ohio, so he's going to kill it.
Yeah, I think it's a little smaller territory than what he was doing with Alec Bradley. Yeah. For those that don't know and they're in the cigar world or interested, is that Alec Bradley actually sold to your parent company, the Forged parent company, which is STG. And they bought the family business out. They're going to stay with it for a while at least. I know they're employing the 2 sons, Alec and Bradley.
They bought that line too.
Right. I'm just saying, but they're going to be employees of Forged or STG or whatever it is. And I think Alan, the father, is staying on, and correct me if I'm wrong, but as kind of like a consultant for now.
Yeah. So he's staying on as a consultant, and Alec and Bradley are going to be very involved.
Yeah.
Alec more on what Alec likes to do is the whole brand partnerships, and they've done a lot of that with whiskey companies and everything, and he's really good at that.
Yeah.
And then Bradley's doing the more creative cigar design, going out and doing at events and stuff like that.
Sure.
I got to hang out with them for a couple of weeks ago, and they're great dudes. Like, you would have fun with them on the podcast. They would do a great job.
They've actually both been on at one point or another.
Okay.
Alec has. Bradley, I can't remember.
No.
Bradley has drank whiskey in the garage before.
Yes.
The old garage.
That's happened.
That was after a 10 event there.
They've both been here drinking, but I think only one's on the show.
They're good dudes, man. I had a lot of fun with them.
Yeah, they are good. And then, again, they've been raised in the business now, and so they're definitely kind of coming in their own, and it'll be interesting to see. But so Ryan Pontis is obviously now the rep and we're going to try to get him on. I did pencil him in. Just Alec. So yeah, I did pencil Ryan Ponist in, and hopefully, actually, I was trying to get both of you guys on together remotely, possibly in the next month or so. I think we talked about that. So let's see what happens. This cigar, I'm getting like a cedary sweetness.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna sound real nerdy, almost like a little nutmeg.
Okay.
Especially with between the retrohale and
you definitely get like that baking spice on the nose,
right?
Yeah.
Very flavorful.
Yeah, it's not a heavy. It's not a strong cigar, but it's definitely a full flavor cigar. I mean, even with that Oscuro wrapper, it's I'd say medium plus in terms of the strength, but it's got a lot of flavor to it. And this size comes in at what, $8-9?
Yeah. These are all under $10 basically for this.
Which
this
nowadays
line.
I think is great because your average price point on a cigar nowadays is $12-13. So I think that's one of the reasons why this line has seen some growth in the last few years. Is it's a really flavorful cigar, but it comes in at a lower price point. So I mean, something like that, like even with the visual issues on mine, it's not the prettiest looking cigar. It's a little,
yours is actually. I mean, you can look at mine. It's
yours looks great.
Yeah, and it was wrapped. I didn't choose this one. It was a blind.
Well, just like
blind choosing here.
Well, just like recently we had one on, and mine was the only cigar of 4 that just absolutely exploded.
Yeah, your luck is not great. I mean, luck is not good. How's yours, Sean? Is it good back there?
He hasn't even lit it up.
I know,
yet.
But how's it look? It's gorgeous.
Okay.
His is gorgeous.
Yeah. Mine looks rough.
Really?
But it smokes great. Like mine smokes great.
Right.
So, a cigar with this much flavor that smokes this well, like coming in, $2-3 below industry average nowadays. Like,
I'd agree.
I think that's one of the reasons why this brand has seen some resurgence in the last few years. Is like nowadays you have a lot of people walking in going, I want to spend less than $10. It doesn't matter how high prices continue to go on cigars. There are some people that are like, I want to stay under $10, and they don't realize how difficult that gets over time.
Right.
And so obviously, go ahead. Sorry.
No, so this is one I think fits like that customer who, in their mind is on a budget, staying under $10. But this is something that has a lot of flavor, and it's really good smoke that they may not pay much attention to on their own if no one recommended it to them.
No,
I was just going to say, we were talking about price point, and like obviously taxes are different states, everything's different, but the MSRP on this guy is like around $6. So
really,
yeah. So it's $5.99. So I mean, in Texas, we were talking about where I work, where they have a very, very low cigar tax, almost non-existent. It does really damn well at $6, like really well.
Well, that's you're pushing bundle prices at that point.
Exactly.
Honestly, you really are.
Yeah.
And I don't think this smokes like a bundle one. The finish on it is a little bit. It's a bit dry on the finish. It's like kind of a sharper finish. So those flavors that I was that I was talking about there, they do kind of, for me sometimes, and maybe it's a little bit with the whiskey or the water, like kind of an abrupt.
It's clean.
It's clean, but it's a little blunt.
Short. Yeah. It's a short, clean finish. It doesn't really coat your palate and linger very long, which some people like that. Some people don't want a cigar that, it's just going to keep sitting on their palate, minutes and minutes later. It's like,
oh, for sure.
I want to taste it and then be done with it, because sometimes if that flavor just sits there, it starts turning a little bitter, and that'll turn people off of a cigar. So if it's got that kind of cleaner, short finish, then it's like, oh, okay. And then it makes their palate susceptible to tasting the whiskey.
Fair enough.
You guys are so much better at that than I am. Like for me, I would describe the cigar as,
we do this as a hobby. This is your job. So that makes sense. You know what I mean? That we'd be.
But I mean, it's like, if I had to describe it to somebody, I would say
it's true. True.
I would say it's what you said. I would say probably medium to medium plus body, full flavored. But then, like, I would say it has some natural sweetness to it that comes through.
Which is good
Some
from
mild spice to it, but not overly spicy.
No.
And that's about all I could give you, I think, if I had a gun to my head. And what do you taste in the cigar?
I feel like if you had a gun to your head, I think you'd try harder. Honestly, that's just me knowing you as a friend. I feel like, actually, if a gun was like to like someone else's head, you probably would really try. Yours, you'd probably be like, you know what? Can I have one more sip? And then whatever, man. I told you what I know.
I don't know if you're saying I'm suicidal, or I don't know where you're going
Not
with that.
suicidal.
Yeah. I think you're right. I think I would make up some things, but I'm just saying, if I had to be honest, that's what I get. Is like, it's just a very good cigar with a little bit of natural sweetness, but full bodied.
Yeah,
I get that sweetness probably coming from that broadleaf wrapper, that dryness from the Honduran tobacco, because I get a lot of that from Honduran cigars.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see like which regions and what kind of tobaccos it is. Which I don't think you guys really disclose, do you?
Well, it's
the
Dominican Honduran, Connecticut broadleaf wrapper,
But you guys
Honduran
don't go
binder.
regions.
No, Dominican Honduran filler. I will say though that, like, for a Honduran based cigar, I don't get like the barnyardiness that I get in like a punch. You know, like those original punches, like with all that Honduran tobacco in there. So to me, it definitely differentiates itself from some of the cigars made at that factory. It doesn't really taste like a Hoyo to me either. It's got a very distinct flavor.
Yeah, this is different. What factory is it coming out of?
Villazon, with where Punch and Hoyo are made.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, thank you. Go Dogs.
Justin says, I like the shirt and go Dogs. You do another show right now? You do a YouTube?
I've kind of
dabbling
around with it. Yeah,
dabbling.
I don't want to get as serious as you guys are about it.
Fair.
I don't want to make all that money and fame and fortune. Dude, I just want to lay low, you know.
That's why Steve has such broad shoulders. He's got to carry that load.
That's not. No.
So my dad is like a huge Georgia football fan, and I'm scared he's going to find that podcast because he watches every podcast.
Why are you scared?
Because he's a very conservative man, and I drink and I cuss and I smoke on it and all that.
A lot of conservatives drink and cuss and smoke.
Yeah, but he's just, he's a great man. He's a great father, but I'm worried that he's going to find that podcast.
You might find out that you smoke.
Yeah, he might find out that I smoke.
Does he know what you do for a living?
He does. He's very great about it. He's very supportive. He loves it.
Well, good. Steve's mom is supportive of him doing this.
She doesn't have much choice anymore. Been in the cigar industry for 10 years, doing a podcast for 15.
Wait, how long have you been doing the podcast?
5. I did the
15
math.
15 years.
Yeah. Seems like 15
Why'd
years.
you add him?
Jonathan being a little star over here. Look at that.
Oh, Shannon. She's a great friend. She's one of my friends from college's wife, but she's also a friend as well.
This is
that's that Shannon.
That's Columbus
that's
Shannon.
Shannon from Columbus.
You have too many Shannons in your life.
I have a lot of Shannons. Oh, Kristen. That's my friend from college, Kristen.
Oh, is it? Interesting. I think
I know.
Yeah, Steve's going to have some words for you after the show.
That's funny.
You have some great folks up there in Columbus. I had a great time coming to the 10 event.
Yeah.
Hanging out. I got like the flu or something, but other than that, it was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
The tent flu.
The tent flu. Oh, that would have been great. Somebody would have died, though.
Oh.
Wow, that went.
No, like we would have gotten in trouble. That's the problem.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell just happened?
Oh, boy. All right. Let's switch gears here to the Penelope, as you called it. The Penelope. So we are drinking tonight. I'll say this about it. It's the and it's tough. Now that you guys said that before the show. Yeah. Penelope. Here, I'm going to put you actually on solo here. So you can hold that up here, please. Penelope Architect, straight bourbon whiskey, finished with French oak staves. We're coming in at 104 proof, 52% alcohol. And this is a fifth. So 750 milliliters. And you want to go ahead and kind of talk about this, Nate?
So this is an MGP juice, and then Penelope is located in Bardstown, so they bottle it there, but it's sourced from MGP. It's actually a source of 3 bourbon mash bills that are comprised of 4 grains. So overall, what's in the bottle ends up being about a 75% corn, 15% wheat, 7% rye, 3% malted barley. They paired with a maker of French oak casks.
Okay.
And so they're putting French oak staves in the barrels. And
so it's not.
Well, or
go ahead. No, we've heard of that before, right? It's not. You're not finishing it necessarily. You're putting the staves in the juice.
They're just using their staves.
Yeah.
It's 4 years. This one happens to be age stated 4 years. This is the 6th batch that they've done, or they call it builds. So this is build number 6. They just released this last year in 2022, and they're already on build number 6.
Mm-hmm.
I know some people go out there and they try and collect them. They're looking for all of them. They want to have the whole series. We get asked for it at Carfagna's every now and then, but we don't carry this one. We just carry the regular 4 grain.
Mm-hmm.
So they work with one of the primary makers of French oak casks out of France for those staves. And it's I was worried coming into it that it was going to be a little bit much like a Maker's Mark 46.
Okay. Yeah.
Because Maker's Mark, now it's the Maker's Mark 46 French oak. They do the 10 French oak staves in the barrels. But this does not taste anything like that, thankfully, because I'm not a huge fan of the Maker's 46.
Apparently, after that comment.
Although I haven't had the new Maker's 46 cask strength that came out recently in Ohio. But not every batch of this or build has been age stated. Usually you're looking at 4 to 6 years. And then one thing that is interesting is they do different char levels on the barrel and the barrel heads. So like they do a number 4 char on the barrel and they do a number 2 char on the heads.
Interesting. So I'm going to butcher some of this, but this is interesting. They call it build number 6, as you said. And it's interesting. They do kind of do this. So they call it the architect. The whole branding, especially, you don't see it, I don't think, as much on the front label. But when you flip it around, I mean, it kind of looks like a blueprint. Mm-hmm. Do you notice that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So let me put you. Hang on, Jonathan. Since you're closer to this, let me. Yeah. So it kind of looks like a blueprint in the detail. Even like the shading is even a little darker than what I'm seeing on your screen. But it says on there a blueprint for the future of precision blending. The 6th build. So they don't just do it handwritten on there. I mean, this is all for this build. The 6th build in this series combines our signature 4-grain mash bill with French oak staves. Working in collaboration with, I'm going to mess this up, Tonneleri Rideau of France, the market leader in oak barrel manufacturing and innovation. We selected each stave using their state-of-the-art oak scan. That's restricted. A registered trademark, whatever you want to call it. Process to construct a truly memorable flavor profile. After all, the best architecture leaves no room for error.
And they use 2 different types of French oak staves. They use staves with low tannins, and then they use staves with medium level of tannins. So it's almost like a double French oak staved finished product.
Yeah. Excuse me. It's interesting marketing. And then they have the whole, if you guys saw it, if you're watching the video there, when Jonathan was holding it up, I mean, you had a kind of a flavor wheel there. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm going to put you back on solo here so we can see.
So basically that solid white line is what this is, the architect. The dotted line is the control that they used.
Which would probably be just the regular Penelope 4-grain.
Okay. I would imagine, yeah.
because that's essentially what this is. This is a blend of 3 of those, and then finished with those 2 different French oak staves.
Yeah. So, I mean, according to this, and then we can talk about what we think. It's interesting because, it basically, according to this, the architect build, it's got everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like their control, which I would assume Nate's right on that, is it's definitely more. I mean, come on. This isn't even a flavor wheel.
It's just intense everywhere. That's why, like, before we did the show, like, I started reading off
structure.
Yeah.
Did you see that on
the
the
wheel? It's very structured. It sits right in the glass.
And then persistency.
Yeah, I find it to be very persistent.
What is that? Stop it. Go fuck yourself.
What
What does that even mean? Hey, drink enough of it, it's going to be knocking down.
No, every time you go to take a sip, you get alcohol. Every time. It's persistent.
Oh, jeez.
But no, yeah, it's funny because, like, as Jonathan held it up to his camera,
he's still on. That's all they're watching now. Is
yeah, just him.
I know, it's weird.
So
Jonathan Herring show here, everyone.
So, like,
thanks for having us.
In that flavor wheel, going out from the center, like, every ring is half a point, and it goes out to 4. And, like, every single flavor note on that wheel is between a 3 and a 4. So it's, like, intense everywhere. Like, it's all the flavors, and we lost Jonathan.
No, you're good. You're good.
Persistent.
I was trying to mirror my cam where you could actually read it, but
no, we can read it on ours. No, you're good. Here,
right.
Put that back up there.
Okay.
I'm going to do this here. I think this works.
Yeah, persistency.
There you go. Look at that. Look at
Oak,
the technology on that badass thing.
Oak integration.
Yeah, no, it's right on ours.
Structure, fruit on the palate, toasted, spicy, vanilla, oak perception on the nose, and fruit on the nose.
There's a lot going on here.
It's a lot of really good marketing.
Yeah, right. So what do we think of this here? As far as Jonathan, let's go to you first. What do you think?
Oh man.
Oh man.
Let me taste it.
What have you been doing for the last 40 minutes?
Sean, do you want to talk? Sean Wilkinson's in the garage here.
Yes.
Take your time.
I'm ready now.
He's ready now?
No, you have to wait. You have to wait. You missed your goddamn turn.
No, Sean, you first.
Hey, Sean.
I do like it. It's nice, very sweet on the front end. Back end, again, not that much of a burn at all. It's actually very flavorful. Maybe a tiny bit young, I feel like. Not like overly like, oh my God, that's young, but just a little bit. It's like lighter, I guess.
Okay.
I think it pairs well. We won't do the pair later, but anyway, I just stick with that for now. But yeah, I enjoy it. So
do you think it's persistent?
A persistent Penelope or Penelope?
Persistent Penelope.
Penelope.
If anyone from Penelope watches this, you're like, well, we're never sending those assholes a bottle. Like, fuck them. Making fun of our name. They're making fun of our label.
Wait till my review.
Oh,
well,
shit.
I'll keep it rated G then. So you can fuck it all up. Anyway, no, I think it's. I think it's.
Stop.
It's persistent. I do.
Sure.
I think I enjoy it. It's very good.
Good.
Can't wait to try. I'm gonna keep trying more. And
sure, that's part of the fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
You just got back from vacation. Are you working tomorrow?
No.
Perfect. Yeah, perfect. Here we are. All right, Jonathan, if you're still ready, if you didn't lose your train of thought there.
I don't know, man. It's not really my style, I guess.
Really?
I find I get like a bitter taste in my mouth while drinking it. Like it's kind of hot up front and a little bitter on the back end. Like I'm more of a fruity fruit up front. I enjoy, and I think I like a little bit of a sweeter bourbon.
Okay.
And maybe it's just a little young, but I don't know. It's just not really my style.
It's 4 years, right? I mean, that's what it's claiming.
Yeah. It is very structured though. And I have noticed that, but I think I think there are, like, I know friends of mine that would really like it. I just don't think it's necessarily my style.
Okay.
Well, I will say that if you look at the color of it, it is definitely a lot darker than the regular 4 grain.
Okay.
It has a much deeper, heavier color to it.
Got a spice on it.
The 4-grain kind of looks, kind of like honey water almost. Just this really bright golden color. This one's more, amber or caramel in color.
Caramel.
They
So
also
Nate, are these staves? That's what's creating this color
Well,
difference. Is just the staves.
the color always, every single bourbon out there, the color always comes from the barrel, whether it be the barrel or the staves. The wood inside is what is providing the
But my
color.
understanding was it was the same thing with the French oak staves. Am I wrong?
So all they're doing, so they basically have so this is an American oak barrel, because in order for this to be called a bourbon, it has to be an American new oak barrel.
Sure.
They're basically putting in 2 different types of French oak staves into the barrel. So they'll just pop the head of the barrel off, put the French oak staves in there, seal it back up, and then, continue aging it for however many months or years that they do that.
So Nate, I got that. But what I was asking is the one you were talking about, the 4-year that you said was a very light color.
That's
Yes.
the regular.
That's the regular
Right.
Penelope 4-grain.
So is the only difference in production between these two the staves that go in to this one?
I don't think it is, because I think the Penelope, even though it's the 4-grain, I don't think they're using the same blend
Okay.
stuff.
Okay.
as what this one is.
See, and I'm going to go on a limb and say, would guess that it is. Again, we don't know. You're looking it up here.
Yeah.
I would guess that it is just because of the whole putting the staves in there, and that's this whole architect thing where they have the control, which would be, I think, would be like their main product.
So
or something
then,
similar. And then you
if
put
that's the
staves in there.
case, then the staves are causing it to be this much darker.
So it would, yeah. So if you're
So-
aging it, or if you're
So the regular Penelope 4-grain is a 2-year.
okay, so this has
So
more
this
age
has
on it.
twice the age,
Which is going to create the darker color.
Does that say how long the staves are in there? Because we've had other ones on here before. Who was it? Not Smoke Wagon. Who was the gentleman? I think he was in Vegas. Was it Smoke Wagon? The guy that was in his office the one time, and he was talking about the staves they put in there, and
No, that was Broken Barrel.
Broken Barrel, which was a great name.
That
Now
wasn't
you
even
say
the
that.
staves. That was literally them taking a sledgehammer, breaking up barrels, and throwing the chunks into the barrel.
Well, essentially, though, like that's what I'm curious about. When you say the staves, I mean that's the outside of the barrel too.
Well, what they're doing is they're taking brand new for this. They are taking brand new staves
I got you. Okay.
and putting it in the barrel. What Broken Barrel was doing is they were taking
Used barrel.
used barrels,
Yeah.
breaking them up and throwing the chunks into the barrels with their whiskey.
Got it.
So this is just throwing the staves in. So this is kind of like I said earlier, Maker's 46, how
Yeah.
they do the French oak staves. They do 10 French oak staves. And then in their whatever series they call it, they'll do the one where they have 5 different staves, and they'll put a different combination of those 5 staves to a total of 10 into a barrel. And then each one of those has like a different weird name that they come up with.
That's not this.
That's not this.
Okay.
We had one of the Maker's Mark ones
Yeah.
on the show, and it
Yeah.
tasted absolutely nothing like the name.
Correct.
We're like, yeah, this is kind of disappointing.
What do you think of this, Nate?
So I get a deeper level of sweetness up front than the regular Penelope. The regular Penelope 4-grain is more like this honey and butterscotch sweetness to it.
Okay.
This one, I get a little bit deeper, heavier sweetness, almost like a caramel. A lot of vanilla, which makes sense because of all the frickin' wood in this one. And then I get just a little bit of spice on the back, not a whole lot, which is surprising for 104 proof. So it is a higher proof one. So I think they proofed it to this to where, because I think if you go too light, that French oak stands out too much. That's one of the reasons I'm not a big fan of Maker's 46, because it's so sharp.
Is it lighter proof?
It's at 94 proof, so it's 5% less than this, but it's so bright and sharp that like it's kind of off-putting, because all you taste is that oak. That's almost all you taste on that one. This one, like there's more complexity to it than that one.
Yeah.
So I mean, this has more sweetness, more floral notes to it. It's fruitier.
Well, I think both Sean and Jonathan were kind of saying it's a little lighter, and I could see that being a little brighter. And with the floral notes, obviously, I'm getting a lingering spice that no one's really talked about. The finish on mine it's got a nice warm spice that just kind of hangs out. Maybe I'm alone in that. No one else.
Yeah, I get it. It's like a mouth spice, though. It's not like a.
No, yeah, it's not heat. It's not.
Almost
It's
minty.
not a chest heat. Yeah,
It's a little bit. Yeah, maybe mint.
I think I should do another one to make sure.
Yeah, do your research over there.
So according to Penelope's own site, so on the nose, sweet candied cream and floral with hints of creme brulee.
Okay.
I get it. Forward note, sweet vanilla and viscous cream with savory oak notes.
Yeah.
The body, creamy sweetness transitions from the forward notes and into the body, herbal, floral, and cream. And then finish, rich vanilla that leaves a long, lingering finish with some heat.
Yeah. So I mean, they call it heat. I call it a little spice, lingering. You know, I don't get as much.
I think it's more spice than heat because I think of heat like in your chest a little more.
Yeah.
Although, go ahead, sorry.
No, go. Yeah.
So there was another review site that I saw their flavor notes for up a little bit, and it was kind of see if there's any of these that you get, Steve,
All
or
right,
Jonathan,
let's
or
have it.
Sean.
Or anyone
Thank
in
you.
the audience. We got what, dozen or so people listening
On the
live right now.
nose, wet stone,
Don't know what that's. No.
moss, toasted oak, slightly herbal, touch of citrus.
Where was this review? Was this like in Maine? Based on,
On the palate, French oak, no shit.
all right. Don't be aggressive.
Lightly charred French toast, white grapes,
Okay.
light malt.
This is on the nose.
No, this is on the palate.
Okay.
Light malt and faint orange. And then on the finish, French oak, smoke, charcoal, a touch dry, and then lingering pecan pie.
I'm imagining them
I'm
doing.
0 for 32.
So I imagine they sampled this not in a garage in the Midwest. I am picturing like Maine or like near a lighthouse and
Little sea air.
Whetstone and moss.
Yep, it's probably about between 45 and 55 degrees. You got a nice breeze coming off the water. So get a little bit of that, that the nose of what they're talking about. But at the same time, they're at the maybe a diner near the lighthouse. You know what I mean? Where there's the different smells going on there, and so I think that's where
They're about to get dessert.
Yeah. Like at the very end of it, they're like, that wasn't so bad. Kind of got that pecan pie, and sure enough, that was the pie of the day. No, I'm.
I want to be on that show. That sounds fun.
That would be nice. I kind of want to be there too. Now that I say all that, I'm like, that's so much better than this garage right now. We should be doing that. This would be nice background. You know what I mean? Like the waves kind of like trickling in.
John, can you run up the street to Kroger and get us some compound?
Can I throw out just if anyone's wondering, my face is beat red. It's 90 degrees.
No
here.
one anything. It's all about you, man.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if anyone's wondering. 90 degrees here, and feels like 101 at 7:30 at night, whatever time it is.
Oh,
Yeah.
7:54.
No one's
It
looking
is.
that closely at your face. It's fine.
They are now.
Well, you've had it
Don't
zoomed
worry
in,
about
but-
it. Don't-
Can you zoom in?
You guys
no
are
one
a
can
good
see
sport.
you. It's fine. Jesus. All right. Well,
Just letting everyone know it's hot as hell here.
Yeah, we had that last week, and then now it's fall. Yeah. Now it's fall.
Fake fall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The weather saw a state trooper. It went from 90
It's a
to
good
70. like-
metaphor there. All right. We round out part one. We round out part one every week with the rating whiskey, which is the Penelope Architect series, right? Series, no, just Architect. Just
Yep.
Penelope Architect. This is with the French oak staves.
Finished with, yeah.
Yeah.
So that kind of goes back to just the finishing.
Mm-hmm.
Typically, because I know you brought this question up earlier, typically a lot of companies, when they do a finishing, you're usually looking at like 4 to 6 months.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember back to the people we've talked to about these and we've had, whether it be the broken. I know it's different technique, but you know, when you're actually putting that stuff in there, I feel like all these finishings, there's weeks, some people do months, it's different every time.
Yeah. So I mean, well, not just when you're finishing with staves, but even some of the companies that finish in another barrel.
Yeah, no, I know. It's like, different for everything.
They're typically, within, less than 6 months, because they don't want that secondary barrel to impart too much flavor. And if you age it for too long, then it can, it's a double barrel type thing. And
yeah. Well, so with the ratings, the whiskey, again, out of 10 being the best, 10's the best. And then your rating on the cigar, which is the Rey Mundo Oscuro. And then we do the pairing. So Jonathan or Sean? I'll give it to you, Jonathan, if you want to do it first.
He's
sure.
Since you.
So often we talk about with bourbons, we do the cigar, then the bourbon, right?
Whiskey, then the cigar.
Oh, whiskey, then the cigar.
It's on the screen if you want to just follow left to right.
Whiskey, cigar.
You got it.
Okay. So
how do you make it this long in the industry?
It's really impressive.
Oh, I forgot to cover the mic.
Whatever you want to do.
With the whiskey, I would give it a 7. I mean, it's like if I was giving it at a friend's house and he loved it, I would tell him it was good. Now, I probably wouldn't buy this bottle again at $65 or whatever. I have a whole horde of bottles that I like in the under $60 category over this. But it was interesting. It was different. It was fun to try. So I'd give it a 7. With this cigar on its own, like we talk often when we talk bourbons, it's always a joke, like, because you always want to bring up price point and the value for the price point. So at a $6 MSRP on this cigar, it'll be anywhere between $6.50 and $9 in your retail stores, depending on tax. But at any of those price points, I mean, I think it's a fantastic smoke and a fantastic value. And so I'm going to give it a 9 because it's an everyday smoke for me. And I have a lot of cigars to choose from in my portfolio. And I go with one of our lower price cigars quite often with this cigar. So I think it's fantastic. The pairing, I would say that the cigar, to me, helped the whiskey a little bit because I drank a little bit of the whiskey before I lit up the cigar.
Yeah.
And I think it improved it. So I would say the pairing is like and I will say, like, the bourbon doesn't necessarily overshadow the cigar and cigar not the bourbon. So I think it is a nice pairing. So I'd give it a 7.75.
All right. And for that, Jonathan, for you.
He did that just so he'd have an excuse to take another drink.
Sure did, guys.
He doesn't need an excuse. Sean, how about you?
Yeah, the Penelope, I will give that an 8. I do like the flavor. I do like the sweet on the front end, and like I said, there is a little bit of bitter on the back end, but it's still a lot more. It's one of those like nice summer drinks. I think it's more for like hot weather. And so with that, the cigar, I'm going to give that an 8.5. I enjoy it. Jonathan, I want to tell, I haven't told you this yet. I told these guys, about 20 years ago, I bought a couple of these, and
Nice.
I smoked a couple of them, but I was still really brand new to the industry, like smoking cigars. I didn't know what the hell I was doing.
Right.
And I remember having that first one and it being pretty harsh and being like, oh my God, this is just way too much. And then for some reason, I just kept it in my humidor. And so that cigar is over 20 years old in my humidor, and it's still in great shape. It's still wrapped in that white paper and still looks good.
Wow.
As new. Yeah.
When are you going to smoke that?
That's the question.
John will give you $10 to run to your house and grab me one.
Okay.
$10?
He paid way less
Budget,
than that 20 years ago.
Yeah. I'm making a couple bucks on that bad boy.
Oh, nice.
That's
a good
but
return
no,
on investment
and I
there.
haven't had one,
I'll buy you one too.
Jonathan, but this is the first one I've had in over 20 years, and now that I've smoked so much more and learned so much more because of these guys and yourself, I really enjoy it. I give it 8.5. Like I said, I think it said 8.5, 8.5. But I love. I've never had a cigar where, for this one was a first for me, where there's a lot of flavor, but then it just real quickly goes away.
Yeah,
it's like usually it doesn't.
It's just abrupt,
okay,
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
So you're not saying that the cigar stops being flavorful, but it goes away in your mouth off the
Finish.
top, right?
yeah. Oh no, the flavor's amazing. I love the flavor. Actually, a little bummed it didn't stay a little longer in my mouth, but I guess not. No jokes. Anyway, the combo. I saw your fucking wheels.
No, you brought it up.
I know your wheels are gonna spin.
Nope.
Uh,
Now that you said something, though.
yeah, I know. I've been on 24 hours of no sleep, so
Perfect.
the combo. I do agree with Jonathan with the combo, like the combination, because it's like the harsh and then a little bit stronger, a little bit lighter, and I think they really complement each other. I did it with the retro, without the retro, drink before, drink without, and they all kind of had the same kind of good combination. I give the combo a 9.
All right,
it was good.
Nice.
Nate, how about you?
I'm going to be a little different.
Surprise.
The Russian judge.
That's right. Here we come, baby. Whiskey. I'm a 7 on this bottle. State of Ohio. This is a $59.99 bottle.
So right in the same ballpark as Texas, because he's at 65.
You're looking at about $60. The regular Penelope 4-grain comes in at 35, and for that difference in price, I kind of like the regular 4-grain a little bit more. Like,
how much is coming? I'm sorry,
35 versus this one being at 60.
Yeah,
so $25.
Yeah.
So a $25 difference,
almost double.
Yeah. And like I've said a couple times already, I'm not a huge fan of the French oak staves in finishing whiskeys.
You picked this, by the way.
I did pick this. I did. Well, I had to pick a bourbon. So
Yeah.
this is something that we haven't had. And like I said, I work at a wine and liquor store, and I get a bunch of people coming in looking for this bottle, and we don't carry it. So, I happened to, after I got gas, and Steve told me we had a change of plans as I was getting gas, and I was like, all right, here's a liquor store right at the street. I'll grab something. And
I appreciate that.
Never had this one before, and I get a lot of people to ask, so I was curious about it.
Try it. Yeah, good reason to do it.
Yeah. But no, I think the regular Penelope at 35 comes across a little bit sweeter. It's a lighter whiskey than what this one is. Granted, it does have half the age this one does, but you guys were talking about this one tasting a little bit young. The 2-year 4-grain, it doesn't really taste that young to me, even though it's only a 2-year.
Yeah, you don't get that.
No, it's like I said earlier, it's a lot of honey and butterscotch on that one. This one, a little deeper on the flavor, but I do like that they proofed it at around 104, because like if they gone lighter, that French oak would have come out a little bit more.
What about the cigar?
The cigar, I'm a 7 on the cigar.
Okay.
It's a good cigar. I think it's a good price point. That finish is really dry.
Mm-hmm.
Not a positive for me necessarily. I kind of like a cigar that is mouth watering. The finish lasts a little bit. This one's very short. I like the flavor. The cigar is also very one-dimensional. Like, it doesn't. I don't think the cigar changes as you smoke it. It's just the same flavor profile, start to finish.
I would agree with that.
I think for what it is, like, they're hitting the market for what the cigar is. They're not trying to label and dress the cigar up as something it's not. Like, this is a cigar that, in a lot of places is going to come in that $7 to $9 price point,
if not cheaper, depending on the size.
If not cheaper,
that's something that he was talking about there.
Exactly. I don't think anyone is expecting to buy a $6 to $9 cigar and be absolutely blown away.
Right.
That's not what most people are going to think of that. This is just one of those cigars like, hey, it's a daily smoke. It's, I've had a cigar already. It's better than a dog walker or mowing the grass type cigar.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't want to sound like I'm
better.
coming down too hard on the cigar.
That's fine.
But I think the cigar, meets the niche of what they needed to fill. I think The cigar does
Who?
what it's
Forged?
the brand.
Okay.
You know, not everyone wants to sit there and pay, you know, $12 to $15 for Macnudos or 20 to 30 for Cohibas. So I think this one, though, you know, and even the CAO, a lot of the CAO cigars are coming, you know, that 10 to 15. This is kind of that portfolio. It's like, hey, this is a cigar, you know, it's got a lot of flavor to it. It's coming in under $10. Like,
Got it.
It's like
Got it.
Jonathan said, the MSRP or the MSRP is around 6 to 7. I mean, that's almost half of what the average cigar is in the United States nowadays.
Got it.
So I think it meets a niche there. Pairing, I give the pairing 7.5. I think the dryness on the finish of this cigar actually benefits the whiskey because it actually it makes your palate more receptible to that sip of whiskey. So that way the cigar flavor is not hindering or overpowering the whiskey when you first take a sip of it after taking a puff of the cigar.
Yeah. All right. So the whiskey.
I'm sorry, we had a decimal there.
Oh, sorry. Cheers.
Cheers.
You got a straw in there? What the shit? You guys ever have Ricola cough drops?
Ricola.
You guys don't have to do that.
I didn't do it.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Seven did it.
Answer the question. You guys have seen the
I've had
the
Ricola.
commercials.
Had Ricola.
Yes.
Have you had the lemon herb Ricola?
Of course.
Yeah.
That's what I'm getting out of this.
Okay. Lemon.
I
herb.
definitely got some, and I was thinking mouthwash.
I get the herb.
But it could definitely go cough drop. I definitely got it. Yeah.
So like the original Ricola, you couldn't really place the flavor, right? It was like those like really dark brown, like squarish, rectangular, cubish
Oval.
things. Then they came out with the lemon herb ones, and it was like, oh, this is going to be a little more refreshing. Telling you.
Okay. I mean, to each their own.
Do you remember?
Yes.
Do you think it's close, or at least
on the herb side? I'll agree. I don't agree with the lemon. I don't agree with that.
The cough drops
brightness.
didn't taste like lemon herb. Think about it. You have lemon, and then you just say herb. Like it's just like which herb?
Basil.
Sure.
Little thyme.
This, jeez. Yeah. So I'm I get all of your guys' perspectives on this. I'm with Nate to the point, and also Jonathan, where this comes in at $60. This is a great bottle to try, right? This is one that you don't have to do a weekly podcast, but if you're looking for different whiskeys every time you go in there, something you just keep wanting to try something, grab this bottle. $60 is not that far out of the realm of an average bottle of bourbon.
Is this the first architect you've had from them as well?
Yes. So
make you want to try so we're at number 6 now.
I would not seek it out.
Okay.
That's what I was getting to. So what I'm saying is that this is something like, if you haven't had it or whatever, you see it on the shelf. If you've had some of the Penelope before, this is something that for $60, I don't think you're going to be really disappointed. I don't think this is something that you're going to be like, oh, I need to go back and get a case of it to make sure I have some. But for $60 in today's bourbon whiskey pricing, it's something to try. You know what I mean? It's something that, again, if you have friends coming over, I've said this before, they haven't had it, hey, give this a try. When I say that whole Ricola thing, it's more of, it's kind of refreshing, what Sean said. I'm saying, like, I get what everyone's kind of saying with this. It's kind of refreshing, but again, it's not like something that I'm going to like, you know what I mean? Like to continue down this path. Like Luden's cough drops were like cherry candy. You were like, I'll just eat those because they're in the cupboard, and I don't even think there's medicine in them. It's just kind of a cherry lozenge that tasted good. These, like the lemon herb Ricolas, like you're not gonna like take them when you're not sick, but when you are sick or whatever, you have a little tickle, you're like, it's not so bad. So that's where I'm like that with this.
This might be really good in a what's the whiskey lemon hot drink? A hot toddy.
Hot toddy. No, absolutely. I think this is, and they probably hate to hear this again if anyone from Penelope ever listens to this podcast. Like, we're not dogging it. I'm saying that, you know, that this would be something to actually throw in a cocktail because of some of the flavor notes we're talking about. It would absolutely, you know, I'm picturing like one of those speakeasy bars, right, where they like the cocktails are like $22 or whatever, and it's some really dramatic kind of a cocktail you never had, and you drink it, you're like, that's good, and then you go on to another cocktail. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. So I'd give this bottle, I'll give it a 7.5. And I think that is because it's enjoyable, but it's not something that I'm going to tomorrow or this, you know, next week, and I'm going to be like, oh shit, I got to run around town and make sure that they, you know, I'm going to get one for the bar.
Yeah.
You know, so
I was reminded, like, I've compared this to the Maker's 46 French Oak enough times on this.
Sure.
Recently, the state of Ohio released the Maker's 46 cask strength, which is coming in at 110 proof, whereas this one's coming in at 104.
Mm-hmm.
This one's a $60 bottle. That Maker's cask strength is 65.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't had the Maker's 46 cask strength since I don't like I imagine between the two being that close in price point, I'd actually prefer this Penelope over that one.
Maybe we ought to try that.
Well, if we get it again, I know. Well, I do know a place that has it, but if
okay. Cigar, bang for your buck. This is an 8.5 cigar. This is again sub $10. You know, I know you said the MSRP is around $6. Honestly, I think that, you know, one of the reasons we charge $8 or $8.95 is because it smokes like that. Not that, you know, we do that with many cigars. This is one that I don't know exactly, but if you're saying the MSRP is $6.95, you know, it should be probably around $8. So maybe there was a little bit of a unknown cigar. So put it out there and see what happens.
Sure.
Sometimes when you get that, and again, I don't want to convey the wrong impression here for the Tinderbox Ethan or any other cigar shop. When you have a cigar that's $6 on a shelf, it may not sell.
Mm-hmm. No, you're exactly right.
You guys are doing that,
yeah.
Forged with El Rey Mundo a little bit, but again, this is just, you don't want to lose your loyal buyers that buy it for $6-7. You don't want, you know what I mean? Like it's a slippery slope. If that's what you have invested into it, that makes sense. As soon as you bring out some other blends, I don't know what the MSRP is going to be, or the one you're bringing out in a month or so. But if you came out with your normal line like this, and it's $6.95, something like that, and all of a sudden the next one's going to be a limited edition, you know, $14 cigar, no one's going to buy that.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
no, we're staying under that $10 price point with everything we do with El Rey. It's a particular, we're doing that on purpose.
Yeah. I do want to say, middle of my ratings here, if Bobby Hirschman's still listening, he's a good friend of the community here, and raise a glass to his brother, rest in peace, and to Bobby and his family.
Lost his brother to cancer.
Yeah. Cheers.
Rest in peace, brother.
Bobby and the whole Hirschman family. Love you. With the pairing, I'd say an 8. This is something that there's nothing wrong with this pairing. It's not something, again, I'd seek out, but again, it's surprising to have a more unique bottle and kind of a borderline below average price cigar / you know, it's between a bundle line and an average price. It's kind of a very unique price point in this market right now. This is an 8 because if you had this in your humidor, not necessarily 20 years like Sean necessarily, but I'd say that, you know, this is something that would pair with a lot of different bourbons, this cigar. And with this, we could probably pick something better for the bottle, I think, you know, if we knew what we were doing tonight. Again, this is kind of a last minute thing.
Sure.
I think that we could probably pair better, but there's nothing wrong with this pairing. I think this goes just fine together, which a lot of times when you're trying to pair something, that's what you're looking for.
Yeah.
You don't want to ruin the bottle. You don't want to ruin the cigar. You don't want to be like, I'm going to put the cigar down. Let's switch to another bottle. I think an 8 is a good pairing because there's nothing wrong with it. And it's something that I'm enjoying. You know, again, I mean, we're almost halfway through the bottle here, and we've been at it for an hour plus, you know, so.
I've got a quick question for, you know, either of you about the bottle. So it was the 6th build, right? So they've done 6 different architecture series.
Yeah.
And so this one, apparently on the back of the bottle, attempts to get everything in it. I mean, like, I wonder what the other 5. Have you guys had any of the other ones?
No, we already covered that. We have not had any of them.
Interesting. I'd be interested to try another architect build and just see what it's like.
Well, it reminds me a little bit of, we've had barrel craft spirits on here several times, the barrel bourbon.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to talk. We've talked to several people from the company over the last several years. And it's interesting because, they blatantly try to do something different with the different batches. And even locally, we had High Bank on recently. And with the Whiskey War, the barrel proofs, they have the batch number on there. The double oak, double. They have the midnight cask, barrel
the regular
proof.
bourbon and the barrel proof. Yeah, all of
They it's, these guys are having fun with this, and I assume Penelope's no different. So I would, I remember asking Adam from Whiskey War and High Bank, are you trying to find your favorite? And it's almost like they like the creativity. They like the creativity of this. And so I assume Penelope is no different. So that would be something to say, Jonathan, that would be a good point, is if you had this out there. Yours is a 6, right?
Yeah, same as yours, yeah.
And I assume the 5s and 4s and 3s, if they're not out there really anymore, unless you can find one just kind of hanging out somewhere. But I'd imagine these are small batches. So, but that would be interesting. So if Nate had that question, if the 7 came out now, based on this conversation, actually, I do have a little curiosity that maybe I would say, all right, $60 to do it again, revisit it on the podcast and see, did this change?
Well, to that, is this something where you would drink half the bottle, cork it, and then wait a quarter for the next one to come out, get that one, and then
if I was that kind of a collector, if I had that kind of income to have, basically $60 bottles, 3/4 or halfway filled, and just have the whole series. Yes, I'm not typically that person, but I can see the merit in that and the enjoyment in doing what we're doing. It's Jonathan's in town. We did this, and it's like, hey, I actually have 1 through 7 now. Let's do a little tasting.
I like that.
Yeah,
Let's do it.
I don't have that, so
okay. If you do,
so when you come up, just bring those. All right. No, you brought plenty last time you were up here. So, with that being said, guys, we're gonna kind of round out part 1. And I appreciate everyone being a part of this, especially Jonathan, because, again, we had kind of a really an audible that we had to call here. So I want to thank you guys, everyone on patreon.com/bourbon&bs podcast, for doing the monthly contributions. That really makes us do what we're doing every week. Again, it's not a big deal to some people, but, getting a new laptop is something that, again, that helps get this done. It's not money out of our pocket as much. There's, we have the fees for StreamYard. We have fees for Lipson to get the audio out there. If you guys are enjoying this, and you want to throw some, $5, $10, $25 a month, not trying to beg, but if you guys think there's value there, we appreciate everyone doing it. And then also Venmo at Bourbon and BS. If Penelope, the number 7 comes out and you guys are listening to this episode and you see it come out, you do a Venmo for $60 and say, hey, I want to buy that Penelope number 7. I want to hear what you guys have to think about that, or what you think about that. Do it. We appreciate that. That's amazing. So thank you very much. And also Tinderbox at Easton, where the El Rey Mundo Oscuros are available. Check your local brick and mortar. Jonathan's down in the Texas area, so I know he says he's selling a lot of this. So check your local brick and mortar for the cigar. But Tinderbox at Easton, thank you very much for the cigar, and check them out as well. If you're in the area, they also do ship. Altadis USA, normally they give us the second cigar, but again, we were focusing on Forged, and we had a big lineup tonight. But check them out: Monte Cristo, Romeo y Julieta, H. Upman, Aging Room, Butera, among others.
Onyx,
so many others. So check them out as well. And then also BS Cigar Company. We're gonna be smoking in the garage here, at least. I don't think you have any down there. We need to fix that. The BS Gold, so BS Cigar Company. Thank you very much for those cigars there. And if you're looking for some swag, buyjack.com, byjack.com/bourbon and BS. That's where you get the shirts. I've got the black and gray Nate's got the red and black. There's a couple of, well, Sean's got the charity green and black on. Pour one more.
I
Light
have
up
the
the
green
red.
and black as well.
We'll figure this out together. So check that out for those shirts, along with some BS Cigar Company shirts and a great hoodie as well. Several hoodies, actually. Check those out. Anything I'm missing?
I think we're good.
Good. I got an empty glass. That's what I'm missing.
Oh. He's missing whiskey.
You don't want to cheers with an empty glass. No. Ladies and gentlemen, cheers. Happy Whiskey Wednesday. Happy National
Bourbon Day.
Bourbon Day. And Flag Day.
Yep. That's
Fantastic.
why I wore the red.
All right. Cheers, guys.
That's why I wore the red and have.
I'm never going to find this break. What time is it? 1:17. Got it. All right.
You won't
All right, so can I go take a
go ahead.
trip to the?
Yep.
Right.
We'll just put you on solo again.
No, that's why I wore the red, and then I brought the blue and white hoodie.
Nice.
Yeah, that's
Nice.
right.
Well
See?
played. Well played.
Uh-huh.
Sean, you want to sit down on this, or you want to just hang out?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, well, let's do it. I don't know where it's going to go, so I can use all the heads we can get. Jesus. Brains.
Maybe I don't want to.
Brains. Just leave it. Leave it.
Oh, you already get the other one.
We'll get the other
We'll
one.
set it up. Well, here, since you're the only one here, unplug it.
Steve, I still had the audio. Were you referring to me there?
No,
I wasn't. Why is there? What's going on in this?
Oh, I see.
Just let me put that right in front of Monte Cristo there.
You're referring to you don't know where this is going to go with me?
No.
Bring me the
We
camera.
got Sean coming on here.
Then we can be red, green, black. Sweet.
Do you have a second cigar, or do you need a BS?
If you have it, yes.
I've got it. Well, I've got a silver.
I'll get the gold. Keep talking amongst yourselves.
Hi. So, and thanks to whoever it was that just sent us like 50 approvals for new members to join the community page. That's great. Hopefully, those new members don't sit there and try and sell shit. Don't do it. It's one of the rules. It's rule number 4. Don't sell. No trades. If you guys throw comments on there going, hey, I got a great deal at this place, fuck off. I'm going to kick you out.
So Nate, my buddy was blowing me up during the podcast. He first texted me. He said, "It's amazing that the bottle was able to block out your head." Talking about my head size.
Okay.
And then when I talked about my red face, he said, "Should have turned it off early. Tomato head is going to haunt my dreams."
Your friends will start calling you.
That's a good friend. That's a good friend.
Heed.
No. It's the size of Sputnik.
Heed. Move. I love that movie so much.
I think I want to get a different bourbon for the second half.
Well, hey, if you want to grab a different drink, that's between you and God.
I want to try this one later.
So it's funny on Monday at my store, the guy that had run the humidor before I started working there, he's like, "Hey, the owner wanted you to make up some packs, some samplers, leading up to Father's Day weekend. Just make sure we have like X percentage margin on it still." And I'm like, shit, I hate doing samplers because then you're trying to sell stuff below what your retail is, still higher than cost, but below what your retail is. And so I put together 2 different samplers, and one's at $40, one's at $60. Holy shit. Within 30 minutes, one of those $60 samplers was gone. 3 of the cigars in that sampler, we can't move worth shit individually.
And then the beautiful thing is those guys are going to come back and be like, "Oh, I want to smoke this again." And you'll be like, "Nope, we don't have it anymore."
Well, the thing is, 2 of the cigars in that sampler, I don't plan on bringing back. But some bitch, I mean, yeah, sold 3 cigars that I don't normally sell ever in a matter of minutes. And then, you know, the other sampler was made up of a bunch of just leftovers.
Oh, thanks.
You know, things we only had like 2-3 cigars left of, and
It looks.
so, you know, sold 2 of those. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
can't get people to buy one. Can't always get someone to buy one cigar, but holy shit, you make a 4-pack up and tell them there's a deal on it, and they buy it right up.
Mhm.
Oh, we don't have Jonathan on there.
Where'd you go?
There he is.
What'd you do, Richard?
Richard wants a matter.
See if that lasts. We should be good there.
So are the people that gave you that bottle watching this, and we're watching this podcast?
No one gave us this bottle.
Oh,
I bought this bottle.
Oh, I think you said something like that.
Originally, the bottle we were going to feature was gifted,
Gotcha.
but those people backed out. So
Gotcha.
They had to reschedule, unfortunately. So
Is Rain on?
he's in the UK.
Holy shit.
So instead of being 12 hours behind, he's only like 5.
He's all
So
fucked
he's
up.
in bed.
Yeah. All right. You guys see the topic here? It's relevant to what we had to do.
Are you going to sing the song?
No.
Oh, it was a good song.
Show must go on.
Yeah.
Queen.
Mm-hmm.
It is a good song. Still good on water? Yeah. Jonathan, you ready?
I'm ready, brother.
Cool. Set this there.
Oh, yeah. You should lead that song. The intro to the
Show
song.
must go on.
Good. In the mic. Go ahead.
I don't have your voice. Or Freddie Mercury's for
Yeah,
that
I was
matter.
gonna say, more importantly, you don't want my voice for that song. Yeah, it doesn't work. All right, you guys ready? I don't know where we're
Yeah.
going to go with this. We'll see. Just a little quick shout out here on the screen there. Look at that. Do you feel special, Jonathan, or you don't care? All right.
I got a shout out on the screen.
No, I just put your. Never mind. Yeah, whatever. It's fine.
Don't worry about it.
The heat's getting to him.
Business is.
It's really hot.
Welcome back to the Bourbon and BS podcast, everyone. This is episode 273, part 2, Beyond the BS. For those that saw the posts out there and you're wondering what's going on, we are continuing on with part 1. Kind of we have Jonathan Herring on from Forged Cigars. He's been in the garage. He's been remote before. In fact, he was on with one of the scheduled guests tonight, which I didn't even publish, which was Justin Andrews, who is what's his new title?
He is the head of contract manufacturing and the brand manager for Diesel Cigars.
Yeah. So when we had him on last, it was Diesel. He was the Diesel guy, and we talked about at the time. We talked about the Rabbit Hole project. I think we did the Derringer one at that point, the
Yes.
Sherry cask, and tonight we were going to actually have Cave on, and unfortunately, everyone had to reschedule due to reasons that I don't want to talk about. I mean, like it's none personal reasons, and we hope to have them on again because we were going to feature that new cigar you guys have forged. It's a limited production. It's going to be the Boxer Grail. It's the Founders Collection. They actually used, I'm going to give a little bit of a highlight here, is that they used the binder leaf. They actually aged in the same barrels that they made this Founders Collection Boxer Grail, which is not what they sent us because they can't. I think there's a little over 1,000 different bottles. Did you look this up already?
No, but
6-year,
yeah.
very pricey bottle.
Mm-hmm.
But this was a
I think
Cave.
at $1,500 MSRP.
Yeah, so this is something that the cigars are very limited, and I'm looking forward to smoking it. I've not smoked it yet, but we were going to have both those guys on, and I hope to still have them. So they're still sitting in the humidor here, and hopefully in the bottle still. We have the regular Boxer Grail, which is a 4-year, which is what you guys can get anytime, hopefully wherever you're at. But
The Boxer Grail's the rye.
this is a rye. So that being said, we came into this and we knew Justin wasn't going to be able to do it. It was Jonathan and I spoke, and it was a maybe, and then it was a kind of a no. He was going to try to do it, but and then last minute Kave added to back out as well. Jonathan was already covering for Justin. Here we are. The show must go on. That's where we are at. Austin Mayberry says he's sipping some Founders Boxer Grail now.
Nice.
Sounds about right for Austin.
Austin, when this is rescheduled,
Austin,
you know where the garage is.
Send me your address.
No, he has this address. He can come on that night, and you can actually, you know what? We'll have you in here, and you can talk to the man behind it or the men behind it.
There you go. And let us have just a little sip.
Just a nip.
Just
a
nip.
nip.
Just a nip.
No, the show must go on. This is something that, you know, he says, I love this year. I know. No, you have to adapt, right? You don't know what's going to happen.
Yep.
Sometimes curveballs come. You have to call an audible.
Yeah.
Doing two different sportsmen.
I'll have a good mixed sports analogy.
Omaha.
That's right.
Omaha.
And you have to slap that puck into the goal.
That's right. Even, never mind.
Slap the puck over the uprights.
Go very 180 on this real quick.
You absolutely can. So yeah, with that being said, I don't really know where this show is going to go, but it's got to go on. And actually in the description it was I was trying to come up with it, but it can happen when things come up unexpectedly, and it can be difficult to roll with the punches. This is something that, whether it be just the weather is not what you expected. You had an event planned, right? And the weather didn't cooperate. You have to try to be prepared. And that's what I put on here. How do you handle unexpected changes in life? No one can be truly prepared for everything. So what do you do to try and be prepared as best as possible? And how do you handle change in general? That's my thing with this, is that handling change in life, people, I think in general, are like creatures of habit. Mm-hmm. So there are some people that just want to try everything, and that's great. I don't know if that's as common as it is rare, but I do think that handling change in general is where we start with this conversation, because if you do your norm and you're comfortable in it, and then something has to change, whether it be job, relationship, whether it be living arrangements, health, whatever it is, I think that is just in general being prepared for the opportunity to take you out of your comfort zone. Mm-hmm. The show must go on. That's like more of the extreme, where it's like, oh no, we're good, and then last minute, like tonight, it's like, all right, do we cancel the show? Do we just what do we do here? You know what I mean? But if you're not prepared for change in general, or you're not open to it, I think that the last minute stuff or scrambling, if you will, it's not always, it's even harder. I was growing up and going to school and college, procrastination was more or less the norm for me.
You're minor?
No, I could have majored in that. I didn't have to. I placed out of it. I placed out of it. I remember.
Wow. All right.
I remember. I was in calculus in senior year, and it was one of those things where I'm not naturally smart. It was just math made sense, and to a point where I still remember that I would just not do all the studying the night before, the weeks before, leading up to a test. And then I'd get a B plus or maybe an A minus. And there was a classmate ahead of me that put so much effort into it and would get maybe a little bit better or around the same score as me. And they'd turn around and be like, what'd you get? And I'd tell them, they're like, knew it. And it was just be so frustrating. And I'm like, yeah, I studied during lunch today. What do you mean? And I was 2 periods ago. I put the work in. That did not prepare me for college, by the way.
Yeah,
I got to college, no study skills at all. I'm typing papers 5 a.m. the day they're due.
High school was so easy to me. Yeah, I was fucked as soon as I went off to college, because in high school I was done with almost every single homework during class.
Okay.
And
I usually did it before class.
And then I could sit there and I could I could sit there and write a 5-page paper, in a night or two. Like as soon as it was assigned, I'm sitting there already writing my paper, and then I'm just waiting for when we have to turn it in.
I was on the opposite side of that.
Yeah, horrible preparation for college, because then I went off to college and it's like, oh shit, this is not as easy as high school was. I actually have to spend some hours and study on this shit because
I should have bought stock in No-Dos when I was in college. Go to the night before for a big test.
Before Red Bulls, before like
roommate and I would hit those up.
I had some friends down the hallway. They used to take caffeine pills and dump them into 2 liters of Mountain Dew.
Probably stronger than Coke.
I don't think that's right.
Yeah.
They probably start hearing colors.
Well, one of them did, but that was for other reasons.
Sean, you gotta give us a little more mic, brother.
Oh, sorry, man.
I may have to turn him up.
Turn him up a little bit because he was on the old one.
Oh yeah, I have to turn up his gain because he was on the other mic.
How's that?
Thank you, John. I appreciate that.
Oh, blowing it out.
Perfect. I can hear you now.
All right, good.
So my point with that, so there are things we learn in life, and Sean, you probably know this, especially what you do for a living.
Yeah.
So it's like, procrastination and like didn't know the study skills, didn't do that.
No.
We find ourselves sometimes that path led to a career that fit you, because you still want to do well, you still want to be successful, but sometimes you're not the one that you're going to put a week in just to put in a presentation, right? You're more of a fly by the seat of your pants, right?
Yes and no. A lot of it is that when we try to do is planning ahead as much as possible. Like one of the biggest things in aviation is anytime you're going to have a trip, come up the next day, you're always looking at alternate airports if the weather's going to be iffy. You're looking for backup plans and alternate plans with, doing the best you can. Now, again, there's other times where there's, for example, mechanical issues happen with the plane. Now it's like, well, if you have a fleet of, good sized fleet of aircraft, you can figure out, okay, what's the most feasible way of doing it without losing a lot of money to cover this trip. And we do our best to make that happen. But yeah, there's a lot of, fly by the seat of our pants, like, oh shit, the plane broke, the passenger on board, they need to be there now. What do we do? And it's a lot of. But
you do have to study so you know the options, right? I mean,
I gotta know.
I'm not comparing apples to apples there, where it's like you have to just just wing it.
Yeah.
And no, that's not another aviation joke. Jesus Christ. Maybe that's where these phrases come from, though. So. Maybe
I really do.
Air traffic controllers over here.
Yeah.
Just like,
I think that's definitely it. I think there's a lot of trial and error. You learn a lot. You learn very quickly when shit hits the fan. And I've been in this industry over 20 some years, and there's still shit that happens that I never thought would. And one of the slogans we have in aviation is you can't make this shit up. Because the things you think won't happen will happen, like in a million years, and it will. Yeah. It's crazy. You learn from it.
You do.
Mm-hmm. I'll say, to me, there's two things. First off, the difference in having to wing it or to figure it out, from when it's a problem caused by your lack of preparedness, and a problem that just comes up naturally is very different. So what I find is the more prepared you are, the less you have to wing it. And when you do, it's not nearly as bad. And coming over from these small cigar companies to a General Cigar, that was a eye-opening moment to me, because there's so many products. There's so many, you go to the trade show, there's so many specials, so many deals. You better have all your stuff in line and know what's going on, or you're gonna be in trouble. And I saw a lot of people over the years come in new as a rep, and they were used to kind of a smaller company, and they would come in and they had a lot of catastrophes one after another, and it was just because you have to be organized and be ready to go on a different level. So I don't know, to me, things that happen because you mess them up versus things that happen out of nowhere, which we all deal with, are two very different ways of handling it. I think. Well,
you have to not set yourself up for failure, right? I mean, there's it's good to be talented, if you will, naturally, that you can adapt and do all that stuff. But it's like if you're constantly setting yourself up for those situations, then there's failure just looming on that point, right? You know,
We get behind the 8 ball, man. You're constantly reacting instead of being proactive.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're living your job, reacting to everything going on, then you need to step back and say, "Hey, am I not preparing enough? Am I not organized enough?"
I think there's got to be a balance there a little bit, because I mean, you have to have that you have to have that preparation, but you also, I mean, I know I've known people over the years, right? You know, in business and otherwise, it's like they're so prepared that all of a sudden something comes up and they're just like, well, and they freeze.
Yeah,
They can't do it. On a very, again, lighter scale is just tonight what we were talking about. What brought this topic up? Jonathan was in the mix today, and he and I were going back and forth through text, and we called and all that stuff. And you've got a major, and I'm not talking bad about it, but this is just the reality of how things work. You have the corporate side of it, setting up guests for a podcast that, again, we're not the biggest podcast, but this is something that happens across the board. If we had 1 million viewers, like, maybe there'd be a little bit more emphasis on this, but it was like all of a sudden it's like, oh, this person can't make it, this person can't make it. I put the social media post out there. All of a sudden it's like people are looking forward to the show, and all. It was what, an hour and a half before, and you're like, yeah, so now it's just me. Well,
which had nothing to do with me, which is crazy. And what I'm saying is, like, I didn't even get involved till the end.
My point is, it has nothing to do with with General Cigars, STG. It has nothing to do with Victoria, who is setting all this up. Has nothing to do with Kaveh. Has nothing to do with Justin. This is just what happened tonight.
Yeah.
And I feel like if you're just that person that just is all about 100% preparation, notes, it's going to be flawless, and then there is the curveball. There is this that happens. It's like, can you still do it? There is a little bit of a give and take there. I think that you have to be able to do both. Yep. But what you were saying, Jonathan, you can't just not prepare and then all of a sudden you're just like, that's not.
Well, it's kind of like
you can't be one or the other.
Well, I think people that are, if you're the type of person that is super prepared all the time for everything, or for what you're preparing for, and then a curveball gets thrown your way. Like, you don't know how to react because you spent so much time and so much energy preparing for something else, that something else came your way. You don't know how to react. This other side, people that sit there and they're just fly by the seat of your pants, they have a hard time actually preparing and planning for something. There has to be some sort of, the people that are successful are going to be somewhere in the middle of that spectrum.
Well, Nate,
because I think the extreme on either side can be
can't be one or the
negative.
Other. Yeah.
So, Nate, I think what the key is to figure out what you're good at and what your weakness is. What I'm good at is winging it. My weakness is the preparation. So what I have to do is over prepare in case things go right. I have everything ready to go.
Just in case things go right.
Exactly. But I know if there's a winged situation, I'll be okay.
Yeah.
Like
so I think it's preparing for your weakness. Whatever your weakness is, whichever side you're weak on, that's the side you have ready to go. If your weakness is being totally prepared and curveballs throw you a wrench, then you got to start preparing for these curveballs. And
sorry.
Yeah, I'm done.
So with my industry, which I'm still fairly new at, talking to people
you're not new at
is natural to me. Yeah, exactly. Well, that's one of the reasons I was brought on, because of my experience with sales, my experience in retail at the Tinderbox, my experience doing this podcast. That was one of the reasons I was brought on to Carfagna's, was my ability to just talk and engage with people. And this is going to sound bad, but like, if someone comes in the store and starts asking questions I don't necessarily know the most about, I can bullshit with anybody. I can just sit there and talk with people and give a very low level description of what I know or what I believe about something. my preparation in order to be better is the studying aspect of my industry and the different products within my industry. So that way, when a customer does come in, it's not just about trying to bullshit and talk with that customer. It's also about providing actual knowledge and truth behind what I'm saying.
Bullshitting is an art that, like, if you're just lying and making shit up, that's a different level of bullshit.
Different. That's
you can
different.
bullshit,
that's
but
not
you
what I'm
have,
talking
like,
about.
that's the whole thing about, you have to actually have a little bit of knowledge there that you can actually
because I can sit
a little
there
bit.
Because I can sit there in my role right
I think
now.
bullshitting gets a bad rap.
Well, true. It deserves
Don't
some.
laugh.
It deserves some praise.
Well, I got
coming from you, Jonathan. I mean, come on.
But I have a counter to
Speaking
that.
of bullshit, we're talking BS gold. No, I'm kidding. But no, like if customers come in, unlike my boss, I have not tried every single wine that's on our shelves. He has. So if a customer comes in, like, all right, what do you think about this wine? Like, I'm going to be honest with them. Be like, you know what? I haven't had that wine before. I've had some other ones like it, some in that same category. I can't tell, and a lot of times it's like, that's one of our better sellers. So I haven't had it personally, but I can tell you, we sell the absolute crap out of it. We have people coming back over and over buying that bottle of wine. They're like, oh, they're not relying at that point. They're not relying on what I'm saying. They're like, oh, if other people are buying it, I'm not just buying off your word. I'm buying on those people's word.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's bullshit. I think that's.
Yeah, but I will say
you're being honest there.
Yeah, I'll be honest. Like if someone says, "Hey, what do you think? Have you had this?" Nope, haven't had it because I've only been doing this for a few months. But I do know my directors tasted every single one of these bottles, and we carry different.
But you
bottles.
can say it differently, right? And with that, you can say, you don't say I've only been here a few months. You're like, I haven't had that, but like, so what's the name? Your director,
Raj.
So Raj, who he's been here a long time, he knows even better than me. I'm getting there. He keeps talking about it, and he says it's really popular. And you know what? I need to try it too. That's just the conversation.
It's on my list.
That's the bullshitting part. That I'm like,
what I mean?
Like you're not like lying. It's like bullshitting is not lying. It's just it's kind of just like keeping that going and making it more natural.
Well, and there are also times where if someone asks me about a specific bottle and I haven't had that, or maybe I haven't even had that particular type of wine, thankfully we've got a very experienced staff, and one of those other people will be at the store, and I'm like, you know what? I haven't had it. Let me ask this guy. Let me have this guy come over because he knows it better than I do.
Sure.
Because then that customer's going to like, okay, this guy didn't try and bullshit me and lie to me. He's actually bringing someone who can answer my question.
That's what I was going to say. That was the key. Like, I think there's nothing better in the customer experience to say, hey, I'm not sure. Let me get that information for you. And I think it goes a long way with a customer. If I was a customer and I go up and I'm at HEB and I'm looking at wine for the day for a Sunday night dinner that we're doing, and she goes, hey, I'm not exactly sure. Let me go back and get that information for you. That means the world to me.
Yes, it does.
And
I don't know.
And I do it all the time in cigars. I do it all the time.
You don't know anything in your portfolio. Absolutely.
No, that's not the case.
I mean, it's fine.
We just bought Alec Bradley. We just bought Room 101. I haven't had a chance to try every Alec Bradley cigar. I did an event a couple of weeks ago. The owner of the store had tried every Alec Bradley that they carry in that store. So a couple of times I said, hey, I haven't been able to try this one yet. Let's let the owner talk to you about that. And the owner would come up and go, no, that one's not for you. You should try this one, or you should try that one. But I think the customer appreciated that I wasn't just going to bullshit and come up with an answer. Yeah. And like, I know the blend on it. I know the and I've got to try all those, and I've got to get it down in my book. But I think there's no better answer than, hey, let me get a great answer for you.
That shows the customer, no matter what the situation may be, that the fact is, like, the worst thing you can get is, I don't know. And then it's not, it's dead quiet. It's, and in aviation is the same way, whether it's a customer, FAA.
Aviation's a big thing. Yeah. Like, what should I do? You know what? I don't know.
Like, the feds will come
Just
in and
wing it.
The feds usually come in and audit our company,
That's twice.
And they've been, they'll ask you all these questions and you may not know, but the minute you say, I'm not sure, but I can go find out and let you know. and not just that with customers,
Sure.
It's the other thing I was going to mention too was, if you have everything set up to go right and everything does go right, it's a walk in the park. You actually get a break because
no one
goes
learns
right.
from that.
But that's few and far between
I'll
when that
argue
happens.
that.
Hang on, let Sean finish.
But that's few. Well, I'm just talking about my industry.
No.
Because if it goes, the flight I book and everything goes from A to B and the travelers get there, then I'm happy.
Sure. Okay.
Everything's fine. But it's so important to plan ahead for what if this, what if that. And the more you know, and then if the things go to shit and you have that customer going to you, hey, what the fuck happened? The more you're going to be able to say, we didn't do it this way. Here's our backup plan. Or I don't know. I'm going to find out. I'm going to get back to you. But trust me, I'm not letting you off. I'm not going to let you go. I'm going to put you on hold. It's so important that you're doing whatever you can to show them that you're going above and beyond to make sure that this gets handled.
Well, especially
But Sean,
spending $10,000 to $20,000 for a flight.
Yeah. What's that?
But Sean, having everything prepared allows that to go 100% smoothly.
Correct.
So that allows you to focus on a detour even easier. Like the fact that you have that lane covered.
Yeah.
Right.
You have that lane 100% covered. When that detour comes in, you don't even have to worry about that lane because it's covered. So you just have to worry about that cross off from the lane. And that's all you have to worry about. And that's where I think being prepared and organized goes the longest ways in the world, because sometimes you'll have that little cross off and then it gets back into your lane and that lane is covered.
And that's go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, I was just saying that organization, that spending that time preparing for your day. I'm a weird job as cigar rep. People wouldn't think that like that preparedness actually matters that much. It's huge.
You have to schedule your days.
Yeah.
If I have that scheduled when I have an offshoot from it, I have that lane going. So I just have to get back to that lane.
Jonathan, you are, as a cigar rep, for those that, listen to part 2, you're not really in the cigar world, bourbon world, because we do have those listeners. But I mean, you are basically like a smaller version of like the rock star of the industry, right? You have the brand ambassadors, the owners, and all that stuff. But it's like what people see when you're doing events, like, man, you got the greatest job in the world.
Oh, yeah.
I get that as I work in a retail store. It's like, oh my God, that's fucking great. This is the best job in the world. Like, I've had worse gigs, you know what I mean? But at the same time, it's still work. You do have to show up. You have to do that. If something comes up, you have to be able to adapt to that. You being in your industry, it's like, someone wants, I don't know, a certain cigar, right? They want more of it, like the one we were supposed to do tonight. And it's like, it's limited edition. You're like, hey, I need 10 more boxes. I don't have it. It's like, I need 10 more boxes. How do you you have to cultivate that relationship still?
I was someone who went through that because I worked in retail before I was a cigar rep. So first I was a customer, then I worked in retail. But both as a customer and retail associate, I had that perception that cigar reps were rock stars in the industry because you see them all the time. You do events with them. And then, no, actually it wasn't Jonathan. It was someone else in the industry.
Yeah, but he's here. I can still bust his balls right now. You know what I mean? Like, but that was the joke.
So then I became a cigar rep, and I realized very quickly it's like there's a lot more to this than just going into cigar shops and doing events and smoking cigars. There's a lot more that goes into it. I wasn't necessarily prepared for that, and unfortunately, I didn't get a whole lot of training as to what it takes to be a good cigar rep. That's why I didn't last very long as one. But I also, because of that experience, I have a whole different level of appreciation for cigar reps than what I did before I was one. Because I walked that path. I drove, I sat there and I drove 5,000 miles a month and visited, 20 to 30 accounts in a week and heard a lot of no's. So I've been through that. So when guys come into the store, like I have, especially when I went back into retail after being a rep, there was a newfound appreciation for the work that actually goes into someone coming by your store on a regular basis.
I think about like a work thing where this is a previous career. I was claims manager. I was with a moving company for for a decade before I was in this industry, and doing claims for moving. You think you have a contact for everyone, right? You try to do this, you try to communicate with the customers, something's damaged. You got someone like, hey, we got this under control. Kind of what you're saying, Sean, where it's like, you got everything covered, right? I got a whole old school. I got a Rolodex, or at the time I had a Sony version of the Palm Pilot. I had everything.
Wow.
Yeah. It's been a while. All right, calm down. I had a Sony Clie. It was very nice. It had a 1.3 megapixel
1988.
camera. It was not the 80s. Anyways,
Scramble porn on it. Great. Go for it.
what?
That's what I heard.
This was a great device, by the way. No, I'll defend that. I purchased that with my own money, and it blew people away because like no cell phones had anything on it.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Cameras, and I'd go out and like, what is that? What is that? Because everyone like had a digital camera. The guy before me had a digital camera and all that stuff, and I just would like flip this thing around. I had a keyboard on there, and I had he rolled out the camera, and it was just like, is that from the future? Future's now, man.
It's Marty McFly.
Future's now. But I think of these things. It's like I got everything, and then all of a sudden a crew comes in. I broke a neon cactus.
What?
I said, I don't. What do you mean you broke a neon cactus?
Like a neon sign in the shape
It
of a
was a
cactus?
potted neon
Jesus.
sign in the shape of a cactus.
Wow.
And they strapped it off and broke the shit out of it.
Wow.
It was like $600.
Oh, jeez.
I don't know what to do with a neon cactus. But I had to put the face on. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I got you. We'll take care of this, no problem, miss. Just give me 48 hours, and I'll get a good estimate for you. Now I'm just scrambling, trying to find a neon guy. And this
Did they have Google back then or no?
It was coming around. It was 2005, 2006. A phone book. That served well.
Is there a category in the old yellow pages for a neon?
No, it's a funny story for me because I probably still have it now that it's transferred so many times from my phones. I probably still have a neon guy if I ever had a neon. I actually probably in Columbus I have. I don't know. I forget who it was, but I bet you.
I'll call you after the show.
My contacts, I do like neon, and it would pop up because in the notes it was like neon person.
Wow.
But you have to. It's a funny story, but like that was the whole thing. Is like you have to adapt to it.
Mm-hmm.
To me,
Let me. Can I say something? So like
No.
the cigar rep, like Rockstar thing. Like, so when I'm in shops, every time I do an event, I have 9 guys come up to me and be like, "Oh my God, you have the greatest job in the world." And I tell them, every one of them, all 9 of them, yes, I do.
Yeah.
I do have the greatest job in the world, and this is an amazing job. Like, I feel like that's my job. Like, if you met some fucking rock star from Bon Jovi after a show and you're in 1997 and you met them and they told you, oh, the job's actually way more than you understand. We have to ride a tour bus. We have to do this. We have to do that. Everybody would be like, man, I don't like that guy anymore. So when I talk to consumers, I tell them, yes, it's the greatest, because it is. And I do believe that. I'm not lying to them. It's the greatest job in the world. They don't need to know how the sausage is made. They don't need to know that I had to do 4 hours of emails this morning and planning my routes and having these guys tell me, "Oh, I can see you between 12 and 12:25 today." That's what I have open. So they don't need to know all that. Like, my job is to make this a luxury experience that they enjoy. Mm-hmm. And I think so many cigar reps miss that. Like, if a guy comes up to them at a show, at an event and says, "Oh God, you have the greatest job in the world," they're going to be like, "Well, let me explain to you my real job." I'm like, no, I want it to be their fun away from home, their experience when they get to have an experience.
That's the show. That is part of that's the image. That's the whole thing. It's like, well, let me tell you, and it's always, grass is always greener type thing. You're like, I'm away from my family, my wife,
right?
Like you're happily married, and it's like I'm away from her. How many days?
140 nights last year.
Yeah. It's like, and like some people would be like, that sounds fucking even better. It's like, no, well, hang on.
We get it in the cigar industry. We get it at the shop.
Sure.
I get it at my daily job. You get people come in to the cigar shop. You're just bringing them out for cigars. You're smoking a cigar. At my job, there might be a rep in there, and we're tasting and sampling wines that the rep's trying to get.
That part is awesome.
Yes. And people they go, oh, you must have the greatest job in the world.
If
and
a guy like Jonathan comes in and you're like, here's like 4 cigars to sample. Like, okay.
Yeah. And I sit there and a lot of times when people come in and say that, I'm like, well, this is still retail. I don't know if you ever worked retail before. Yes. Most of the time, it's absolutely fantastic. But every now and then you get that one customer because you're still dealing with.
But don't tell them that, Nate. Say, yes, I have the best job in the world. I love wine. I like
what Jonathan's saying.
Yes.
I get to do this
I
every
see where
day.
he's coming from.
Yeah.
I like that.
And so what you're creating is an experience for next time they come in. They get to see the rock star Nate, this tasting wines, selling him cigars, selling him wines. Dude, it does matter, and it's a cool thing, and I see reps miss on that all the time.
I think people miss on that a lot too. With like, even like personal life too, right? I mean, that's the same thing. Like you have like, oh, you have the perfect house, you got like the perfect, 2.4 kids, and your wife, your husband, whatever it is, it's great. I mean, you have this amazing life, and it's like there's a little bit of a give and take there, balance there for me too. Is that it's like you can be honest to a point and be like, we got our problems too. Like we just work through them. You know what I mean? Like that's the nuts and bolts of it. Is I think it's the behind the scenes is that you don't necessarily need to highlight the negative, because if you're doing that in conversation, you're probably doing it in your head, and that's not the healthiest way, in my opinion, to do that. So that's this preparation, right? So we're going back to what we're talking about, like work and school and all that stuff. Like personal life, same thing, preparation. Like you have to have those talks. You have to be honest. You have to be open with your partner, whatever it might be, with your family, with just you and your own personal finances or whatever it might be. You got to be honest to yourself first, and then to the people that are important to you. Because I think that, from like that whole, we talked about this, what was it called? The curb appeal, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We had an episode about that. Like,
that was my top. Yeah.
From social media, from curb, whatever it is, like from surface level, from the outside looking in, like you have the perfect life. Nope. No one has a perfect life.
Yeah.
The show must go on is where I'm relating this to, is like shit happens, health scares. Sean, I'm not throwing you back out there, but you've been on the show before.
He's talked about it. I think he's
had shit happen.
That
was super serious. You have relationship problems. You have the health scares. You have financial problems. It's like all this stuff is what makes up everyday life. And I feel like it's not necessarily adapting. It's a combination of the thoughts we're talking about here, is that you have to prepare. You have to really put in the everyday effort to appreciate the good things, work on the not so great things, and hope that they don't become really, really bad things. But when the really, really bad things that are not anything you have control over, that's the again, I'm not belittling that, but like what we did tonight, now we're having a show tonight. I could have canceled it. I could have said, no, like they're out. We'll be out another week, but
I would have been sad because I was planning on watching it either way.
Mm-hmm.
More importantly, when those things happen in life.
So
sorry,
we could have still had Whiskey Wednesday.
I do have one thing to share about this. I know I've been, like I mentioned earlier, I've been in the industry for over 20 years, and I worked for a handful of companies through those 20 years in the same job, same, along the same lines of what, we did everything the same. What I have noticed with this job I'm with now, I'm the happiest I've ever been, but the one thing I noticed is that this is probably the sharpest company that I've been with. And I see that, and I know that because I sell the charter, I sell our flights. So when I go to, like, we mostly deal with brokers and sometimes operators, but brokers are our main customer. And we get a lot of, hey, you guys are $5,000 more, but I'd rather go with you because we know you'll get the job done. as compared to some other operators that I've dealt with in the
That
past
says
that
a
are way
lot.
cheaper. Yeah. So to me, that is a compliment, in of itself. And I think that's also because of how well we prepare to be ready to go when shit does hit the fan.
Yeah.
And we work, and it's not just one person. We all work together. There's 10 of us all working together as a team. Like, let's do this. And we're all throwing in suggestions and let's make this work. And let's try, And so the fact that we go above and beyond to fix whatever problem, whether it's our fault, it's out of our hands or whatever, that goes a long way, because brokers have thousands upon thousands of options they can choose from every day for a flight. But the fact that
the reason is your lane is set. When
Yeah.
you're in your lane, you're amazing.
Yeah.
So when you have to depart that lane, you get back to it.
Yeah, and they know that.
Well,
and they know we'll take care of them.
Critical
Yeah.
thinking.
Yeah.
You just described critical thinking to me.
Okay.
Like, you have issues come up and you can actually talk about it and figure it out. Like, that's
Right.
that's a big thing that I think that has been missed a lot in the last generation.
Mm-hmm.
Is that, like, critical thinking is not an option. Like, it's just like, well, no. I look at, like, IT people, right? That's like, you're not IT people. It should work. It's like, well, so what if it doesn't work? We have a fail safe, it'll work. And it's like, well, yeah, what
you
if that
just have to
doesn't work?
unplug it and plug it back.
Like,
in.
what if
It'll always work.
going back to, like, just the retail or whatever, like this? It's like, so I have Wi-Fi, I have all this stuff, like my brand new computer, like, so yeah, it'll work. It's like, what if it doesn't? But it will. And then when it breaks and it doesn't work, well, I don't know what happened. Like, oh shit, like, I gotta shut it down. Like, gotta shut it down. You know what I mean? Oh, I've had that problem. Yeah, exactly. I've had that problem in this industry. I've had it in the moving and storage when I was running an office. It was all that stuff. It's like you had, one line turn into like 10 lines and like the call center type atmosphere. And it's like, well, what if that breaks? It's like, well, we have the backup server here. What if that goes down? It's like, it won't. Like, it'll be, it's a backup. And I'm like,
I've seen enough movies to where I know.
What is there a backup to the backup?
Yeah.
And they're like, no. Well, no, that is the backup. Like, well, I don't get it. I don't, like, what if it breaks? I'm like, just call us. I'm like, so what do I do with the rest of the calls coming in the next, like, 8 hours? Because they don't understand necessarily that is costing you a lot of money. There's no critical thinking there.
And to Sean's point,
they're prepared, but they can't adapt.
To what Sean was saying, it reminds me a little bit of the first career I had out of college. The company I worked for, when we were doing testing, we were not, because I think there's a lot of companies that when they're looking at spending money on stuff, they want to spend as little money as possible.
Sure.
So for example, the running joke,
which goes against what Sean was saying about his company, right? It's going to be done.
So the running joke, when people say something's military grade, it's like, you realize military grade just means built by the lowest bidder. Like, that's what that means. The company I worked for in our industry, we were actually the most expensive bid on a lot of times, on a lot of projects. We were more expensive than a lot of other companies submitting bids for projects. There are multiple reasons for that. One is we were paying our staff more than what some of the other companies paid their staff. But that's also because our staff had more training and was much more diverse in terms of what they were capable of doing than a lot of other companies. And we also had a track record of having fewer errors and being more successful at doing certain techniques than other companies were doing. So we even had, the company I worked for, one of the divisions I was a part of, there was the national side that actually would come in and train us and see if we were actually up to par with training and stuff like that. And we would show them our training records, and then we would also actually have to demonstrate our abilities in front of these governing agencies. And like, they would see our track record and see us perform these tasks, and they're like, you guys are so much better than any other company I've ever watched. You guys have fewer errors than anybody else. You guys do a better job with this. Although I can tell you from personal experience, it kind of sucks when they tell you that you're better at a task than your trainer, because your trainer will take that personally.
Sounds like a personal incident.
Yeah, that happened. But when when we submit bids,
Fuck that person.
yeah, absolutely.
I was
Fuck
saying
you,
it for you.
Kenny.
Oh, yeah.
She doesn't watch
Damn
this.
it, Kenny.
Fuck her. But so when we would submit bids, like that was actually part of
The
our
event
bidding.
session here.
That was actually part of our bid. Was like, yes, we understand we're more expensive than other companies. Here's why we're more expensive. Here's what came up in our last audit by the governing agency for this. Like, we have fewer errors than everybody else. We have better training than everybody else. You're going to get what you pay for. So what matters most to the client? Is it dollars or is it
So what if they
success?
keep saying
Get
no?
the job done.
What if they keep saying no to that?
Well, eventually, so if they keep saying no to us, all those other
Just in
agencies,
general,
all those other companies that pay less, they're not going to have enough room to take up the work.
Okay.
They're going to get so overloaded. They're not going to have enough staff. They're not going to have enough people. They're not going to have enough space. They're not going to be able to do the work. So, you know, if we sometimes we would get a contract by default because someone else, you know, was too busy. They didn't have the room to be able to do it. And then we perform it, and they may that one company, they may have one project with us and one project with a competitor. And those results come in. They're like, well, shit, this company did a better job than the other one. It cost us more, but they did a better job. Like,
they got to figure that out for themselves.
Like, is that actually worth the extra dollars to, you know, to have someone who does a better job? Like, you know, Steve, you just had your roof done. You know, if you were paying out of pocket, like, which is better? Like, do you want someone that's going to do it the right way and be a little bit more expensive, or do you want someone who's gonna be cheaper?
Depends, man. I am glad insurance was. And I used a friend, and he's been really banging it out. They're really growing. Shout out to Columbus Roofing Company in the area. Now they also have Nashville and I think Cleveland Roofing Company, but they did a great job and had to go way above and beyond. But Jonathan, I want to steer it to you on this. The show must go on. Just, you know, to get into this, like, we're talking about work a lot, and I want to put it on the work/personal relationship. And I'm going to throw you under the bus because you're on the show. Why are you in Texas right now?
Can I add to that question real quick before you go?
Okay. Sure. You know what? Yeah, of course you can.
You complained it was hot. Are you sitting in front of a fire right now?
No, I have a bug lamp.
Okay.
Thing.
All right.
So, yeah.
Have a what?
Sorry.
It's like a bug lamp. Keep the bugs out.
Okay.
But something on the show must go on. Did you have a question, Steve?
Yeah. Why are you in Texas?
Oh, I'm in Texas because my wife's from Texas.
Right. So this is a life experience that changed your trajectory.
Absolutely. And
so I think this is so relevant to what we're talking about right now.
So I had to do a whole new territory with a whole new company in Forged. And it was, you know, like, people from Texas want to see people from Texas.
Yeah.
So I just had to rely on the fact that my wife was from Texas, and that helped. And it helped me get through it. But you know, these people have been some of the best customers I've ever had. But it was a transition, and the show had to go on. I had to keep producing numbers. I even had to produce numbers at a higher rate because I was the only rep that came over from General to Forged. So it was a lot, but as of now, I'm doing really well.
Yeah, I look at, you know, your recent path right now. Again, being friends and knowing where you're what you had gone through, is everything happens so quickly. Yeah. That's where I think this is something that is really relatable to a lot of people, because you're balancing that work and personal life balance. But so you had, and I'm gonna kind of, I guess, speak not for you, but about you, is you were doing the general thing, and you came from an area that was, you were our rep in the Midwest for General Cigars. It went through a split at the same time. Your wife got a great opportunity back in Texas. So now all of a sudden it's like, all right, so how do I make this work? And you have to really, I mean, I know you struggled with it, because you're like, yeah, I want to make, like, her happy and us happy and the home life happy, I still want to work. And it was amazing to me to see it doesn't always work like this.
No.
But the fact that you went through the General and Forged split, you had you moving from you were in Kentucky, right?
Yep.
And you go all the way to Texas, and you're able to start with technically a new company, but it was the same company. But you had this opportunity to do that and start a new life, because that's what it is. It's a new life down there.
And the
and
rep
you have to
in Texas
maintain that
have been here
relationship.
30 years.
What's that?
The rep in Texas have been here 30 years.
Some shoes.
So I'm the first 30-year rep that they've seen for these brands. And he has been so amazing and helped me through the process.
Yeah.
But like I went into a legacy territory where a guy had been there 30 years, and I had to be the new guy and be like, oh, buy it from me now. And it was tough. It was tough. But I will tell you, like, these guys down here, they understand business. And if you come see them and you do your work and you are appreciative of what they do, they take care of you. And it was, like all the other Forge reps started off the map way higher than me because they were all in their same territories and they killed it. And here we are 2 years later, 3 years later, I'm doing really well now because I've slowly built a business and I built it with these guys. And what I was going to say as well, like with the category, which really stood out to me with the show must go on, is, so many times when things go badly and you're the person of responsibility. So like often I'll be on the road and something will happen with the office and the cigars don't get shipped or something happens, wrong. I have chosen and I've learned over 8 years of doing this is like, it's better to take the fall yourself.
Yeah.
So I am their point of contact. So if I go into Steve's shop and we had an event for Friday night and the cigars didn't show up for that event, it's better for me to tell Steve, I didn't make it happen and I'm sorry. And I feel like we lack that a lot in the business world. Like we want to put it on somebody else. I feel like if that person can,
especially if you didn't do it in the first place.
Yeah. I agree. But if that person can look you face to face and you say, hey, next time I'm going to work a little harder. I'm going to put this order out a little sooner. Like we'll make sure it's here. I'm sorry it wasn't here. We'll do the best we can.
Yeah.
It's on me. I am your last point of responsibility. And I feel like that's something that took me 6 or 7 years in this industry to learn, that when something goes wrong, whether it's the office or whoever or factory, like it's better just take the responsibility.
Yes.
Be that point of contact, because if you really want to be their point of contact and you want to be the person they rely on, you got to take the good and the bad.
When you're representing a party, whether it be you like for you and your significant other, whether it be the company, whatever it is that you are a part of it, and it's really, really easy, short-lived but easy, that you deflect the blame.
Yeah.
Right. You deflect the blame to someone else. Yeah. The person in the office, they didn't place the order. I did. And you can even go as far. You're right. Right. So you can actually
show them the email.
Hey, let me show you. Like,
right
absolutely. This is my, I show you, like, you sent this to me.
But
I'll
that was
show you
me
this.
3 years in.
Chip. Well, I didn't follow up on it. I didn't need to follow up on it because we are a well-oiled machine. You're not, because everyone makes mistakes. Everything's automated these days and all fucks up. So it's like, I should have 2 weeks ago said, hey, has that order shipped out?
Yep.
I didn't do that.
Right.
So no matter whether or not you fucked up, but yes, if you're representing a body of people, whether it be personal or professionally, you got to be that's who you are. Because
go ahead.
Go ahead, please.
No, I was just saying, because as a customer, the last thing I want to hear is someone that I'm talking to, that I'm dealing with directly, is to blame one of their coworkers.
Because what does it not do?
It doesn't solve the problem. Number
Absolutely.
one, and it doesn't give you a feeling of, well, they're going to try to fix it. They're going to quickly deflect it off to someone else, place the blame on them, and be like, not my problem.
But I will say, guys, for like the first 3 years I was in the industry, That was probably my thing. I would say it was not my fault. I did the right thing. I'm sorry it happened. And I learned over the years, like, just people appreciate you taking the brunt of the blame.
Yeah.
There's
And
a
you
difference
say,
between
hey,
saying
I'm going to,
we versus I.
yeah,
Yes.
When it comes to that. Like, again, bigger picture, because you are part of a team, right?
Yep.
You don't do the ordering, you don't do this, you don't even make the cigars in your position. But it's like, also, like, you walk into a restaurant, you're like, yeah, I want the the classic cheeseburger. Like, we don't have any cheeseburgers today, we don't have any burgers. And it's like, what do you mean you don't have the manager, they have an order, they're fucking up a lot. And it's like,
yeah,
there is no real solution. Like, that person's not going to be like, oh, well, let me hire you into my
So
career.
what are you going to do for me now?
You're just the asshole with the message. It's one of those things.
yeah, but it's still the wrong move to say the manager didn't order it.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, you just say that we don't have it, like, you can stop there. We don't have it. We're addressing the issue.
Let me give you a deal on a chicken sandwich instead.
It's probably better for you,
Yeah.
So,
I just think there's like some life lessons we can learn from this. Show must go on.
Absolutely.
And like your lane has to be set. Your lane has to be good. And when things diverge, you can easily get back to that lane if you have your lane set.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to be alert,
thirdly,
right?
Yeah.
You also got to prepare, everyone's different, but I think for me, you got to prepare for the most common mistakes of, most common mistakes of, that could or possibly happen.
Yes.
Just because when shit does go south, and it does happen, the fact that you already were prepared for it, another huge gold star where the customers were like, holy shit, they were on it. That's another reason.
Dude, I had an event last week, and it was a Room 101 event, right, on a Friday in Austin. And I get out there, and the cigars have not shipped. They have no Room 101 cigars.
Oh shit,
that's a problem.
And I go, hey, you have 10 facings of Alec Bradley on the thing. Let's make it an Alec Bradley event. Let's just fucking move. Let's do it. I have Alec Bradley. I have a couple of swag items. Let's make it an Alec Bradley event. Shoot it out. That's what we're doing. So I brought in my Alec Bradley stuff. We brought all the Alec Bradley stuff off the shelves, and we had a nice little Alec Bradley event. And I said, I'm going to make this up to you guys.
Yep.
I didn't get the order in time. I'm sorry. We're going to make it up. This was my fault. It wasn't my fault. It doesn't matter. What matters is my customer knows that I care about them. I could have just said, oh, the Room 101 cigars didn't ship. Well, I'm going to go home. I was like, let's make another event out of it. Let's figure it out.
I always look at this as, at the end of a flyer or an event that we throw at Tinderbox at Easton, is I always put those little stars typically at the bottom of it. Details are subject to change.
Yeah.
Because I think that in life, details are subject to change.
Really?
You have a life path. You have things that are going to work. It's like, oh yeah, I'm going to get a promotion at some point. I can afford more. Like, this relationship is going to last forever. No matter where it's at. Details are subject to change. You're going to have your ups and your downs. But as long as you can adapt and realize what's important to what you are as a person, if the job trajectory changes, you're going to adapt and you're going to stay with it. You'll have your back steps. You're going to have those things. The relationship, same way. You're going to have your ups and your downs. It's not always smooth sailing. But if you just don't think that it's always going to be this beautiful, smooth path, the details are subject to change.
Well, Steve, that's what I'm saying, though.
It doesn't mean that person's not going to be in your life. It doesn't mean that the career is not going to be like in a good place. It means that wherever you're at that moment, whether it be like an event like that, something can happen, right? And you have to adapt. You have to be like, let's enjoy what we have. We got people together. You know what? I know you guys came here for the Room 101. I got Alec Bradley. Something happened. Do you want to have a good time or not? Same thing with like, it's like,
do you want to have a good time? You say it real aggressively to the customer. Do you want to have a good time?
You want to fucking have a good time, or what do you want to do? You want to piss and moan? You want to like go home and like, cry in your pillow? What do you want to do? My point is that like you have to adapt to it because details are subject to change. And I think that as long as you can roll with it and then grow with it, I think that you won't lose customers. You won't lose people in your life. You won't lose people that are important in your life if you're willing to roll with that and have this. The show must go on because, you can get better with adversity. That's when you said that. Like I was like, you don't learn anything. Like we learn the best if something goes wrong. You don't want it to.
Yeah.
But when it does, you learn from it. Even if you don't succeed in that moment or that situation, you learn something, hopefully, from that. So you can prepare. So that now is in your arsenal to make it better for you and everyone else involved.
Yep.
We can say.
I one time did a cigar event and had someone come in thinking it was an Oliva event. It's like, nope, not this company. But no, you had said that earlier, Steve, and I had said that I disagreed to a point, not entirely, but to a point. Like, I think, like one of the best ways for us to maybe grow is to actually, plan and be prepared for things. I think, or I forget how you had phrased it that made me think of it, but like you can grow and you can be successful by planning for things to go certain way or certain ways. When things don't go that way, I think that's a way for growth, but it's not the only way. Like
no, like, certainly not.
Just like I think if people do their due diligence to prepare, they prepare for what they want to have happen, and then they prepare for what could happen. Maybe one or two things that could go wrong, in a way to adapt from that. Like I think that would show success and growth. I think like if it's something that was, a change or an issue that came up that was like 10th down on the list of things that could go wrong, like that's a different way to grow.
Yeah, being well prepared for something like a presentation, that's one thing. Having a tool belt filled with scenarios that you have studied and what could happen. I'm saying that if you prepare for everything, you are delusional.
I was going to say, can you really prepare for
that when you think
what if?
When you think that you are fully prepared and you have control over everything, including other people and things out of your control,
oh dear Lord,
you are setting yourself up for failure. And it's it's natural to be disappointed, but if you're just disappointed, you shut it off at that point. And like, again, this is going back to why we have this topic. We're disappointed that the show we had prepared tonight didn't happen. But I could have easily be like, no one come over to the garage. Jonathan, don't even log on. Like it's over. Like, I don't want to talk to anyone because it didn't go my way. I thought I had this prepared. I had this scheduled weeks out and we were all good and all stuff and nothing happened. And it's like, I'm going to go to my room and cry my pillow.
No, you're going to be sitting on your back patio having a cigar and a drink anyway.
Yeah, maybe. I gotta teach Tony to give me a drink. Tony, get not that bottle. Get the other bottle.
Well,
he probably would come out.
So I'm one of those that you had brought it up, Steve, in the very beginning of the topic. I'm one of those people that I like the routine.
Yep.
I like knowing what's expected, and I like the routine of things. I like knowing what I'm supposed to be doing or what I have to do coming up. And for the longest time, and there's still some of it now, but I'm way better at it now than what I used to be. But whenever the slightest change would happen to what I had prepared for, Like it just absolutely wrecked me. Like I was going nuts. I was pissed. I was emotional.
Yeah, that's
like it just absolutely threw me off. And I would make a big deal out of it. And it took a lot of years and a lot of patience. And I give a lot of credit to my wife, learning like, okay, things didn't go the way we planned or the way you had planned, but the way things are going, is it that big of a change? Is it that different than what you can adapt and handle? Like, because there would be things that would come up. I'm like, this is not what I had planned. This is absolute bullshit. But could you do it? And I'm like, yeah, I can. It's just not what I planned.
But your strength is
I can do it. Like, yeah, we can get through this. It's all right. It's not that, like, my problem was I was making too big of a deal of changes to what I had planned.
Yeah,
because
you're crying in your pillow.
I'm such a person who's in a routine that if things fall out of that routine,
go on. I feel like I'm learning something new here.
Okay, fine. That if things went out of that routine, like it would, depending on what it was, like God damn it, it would piss me off. I'd go on a rant, and I would make personally and internally too big of a deal out of it than what it actually was. And
that's cool that you realize that.
But then I would go through it, I would deal with it, I'd handle it, and then it was always after I handled it, I was like, all right, that wasn't as big of an issue as I made it out to be in my mind. Did I really need to blow up the way I did?
Right.
What's the answer there?
Well, most of the time, no, I did not need to blow up the way I did.
The thing is, Nate, like you're
I'm looking like, did you die? Like,
the thing is, Nate, like your safeguard, your normal is preparedness.
Yes.
And so what you have to struggle with is things outside of your preparedness. My safeguard, my normal is unprepared. So I have to struggle with things that fall into the prepared side. So like it's just all about understanding what your weakness is
and strengths.
And figuring out what the opposite is, and that's what you need to get better at. Because I think this topic, like the show must go on, like there are many of us that
make these your closing remarks.
These are my closing remarks?
Unless you don't want them to be.
I'm just going to start a timer real quick.
All right. Closing remarks for Jonathan Herring.
All right, start.
Deep thoughts by Jonathan Herring.
The idea behind the show must go on for me is what I've learned over the years is I'm really bad at preparing. And the more I prepare, the less I have issues show up in my life that are hard to figure out.
Say that again.
The more you're just trying to up my time.
No, actually, I realize what you're saying. I do want to like hear what you're saying. Like, say it again.
Though. So the more I prepare in life, the less issues that I have come up.
Sure.
That I don't know what to do about. So like, if I have a prepared lane, bam, this is my lane. I'm driving down it. When something comes off and veers off that I have to deal with, I can easily get back to my prepared lane if I have a good prepared lane.
Sure.
If I'm going in cold and relying on my talent, as we talked about earlier, relying on my intellect, relying on, hey, I can get it done, then when it veers off to that lane, it might veer off again and veer off again. It will never get back to a prepared lane because there's not a prepared lane for it to get back to.
There's no structure.
So what I'm saying is if you're really good and really strong in being able to adapt, that means you need to work really hard at preparing. If you're really good and really, really, really strong in preparing, you need to really work hard at adapting. So you got to work at what you're weak at. And I've learned that over a long period of time. And it makes, like, dude, tonight I was told I was going to do this podcast, and I was reading everything on the Boxer Grill, and I was going over the top about it, which is not which is not my normal way of being. That's something I've learned, that I want to be above and beyond on these things when it comes to prepared, because I can wing anything.
Yeah.
The wing doesn't bother me, but I need to have a big wide lane to walk down in what I've prepared.
You didn't walk into it with like a little bit of a, what were we at there?
We're over 2 minutes.
Yeah, so that wasn't just me.
Oh, so you helped.
Not by a minute.
All right.
Cheers.
Cheers, brother.
No, I think it was actually a very good
Mhm.
message there, because yeah, you're absolutely right. I think that you can't always be prepared for it, but you got to put the work in.
Yep.
It's got like when there's other parties involved, when it's just you, like we were talking about earlier. Like,
Wait, Steve, is this your closing argument?
No, I was commenting on yours.
No, he's last.
All right.
Trust me, I've been interrupted a lot or been added to my closing remarks.
Okay.
But when we were talking about like the college or the studies and stuff like that, that's just you. There's no one else involved there. Maybe your parents are gonna be disappointed, but when it comes to a job and you have people that are relying on you, if you don't put the work in, you're absolutely right. I don't think that you're gonna be able to have a steady career if all you're doing is just winging it constantly, because that's a level of bullshit that there's no substance there. And all you're doing is scrambling all the time. And no one wants to rely on someone that's always scrambling.
Yeah.
They want to rely on someone that can scramble, but you can't just have the whole plan just crumble every time and they rely on you. That's not substantial. It's not sustaining. There's no future there.
But Steve, you also see what I'm saying, and whatever your weakness is, is what you have to put the time into.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Like, you can do that naturally and have that as a skill set, that when something happens or something, like there is a major obstacle or a big fallout, like that's what I was saying, like the critical thinking thing is like, we'll get through this. Like, we don't need to throw in the towel quite yet. We'll figure this out. It's not going to be pretty, but we'll get it done. And now we got to regroup.
Yeah.
I think that what another lost art is a you sit down afterwards and you have a review of that, right?
Yeah.
Like, what happened? Let's have a recap. Let's have a recap.
Like, Sean, you really fucked up here, buddy. That's
sure, if you want to talk about Sean.
Yeah, I mean,
no, I'm just saying, like, I'm just using an example.
Okay.
Like,
yeah,
like we're doing the review and we're like, Sean, you really came up short here.
Yeah, you misstepped here. This is where we think you could do, and it's like you have to review it. Like there's no reason to not have a recap or have have that sit down of how can we do this better. Well, everything went great. Well, okay, what went great? Like, let's learn from it, because we may not even appreciate what went well. So when it comes around again, you don't have this as a tool. Sean.
So I'm going to kind of go off of what you said, John. And probably about 7 or 8 years ago, my older boss from the previous company always used to say, devil's in the details. And that really set well with me, because of just in a job and to be prepared for what you can, what you're doing for whatever the job is. It's all about the details. It's all about being, double checking everything, cross checking everything, having a contingency plan, and being prepared. And over the years of me being in the industry I'm in, I have fucked up so many times I've lost count, but I can look back now and say I've learned so much from the
fuck ups.
Yeah, the fuck ups and the details. And what I was able to do in the past company I just started with, when I went in there, the first few days I talked to the operations team and was like, the previous company I was with, I was like I was a manager of the dispatch team, and I was like giving them scenarios as the trip would have happened, because there's a lot of the guys that were underneath me were pretty new. So I would say,
so you're doing the trip over again?
Well, no, as the trip's happening or the trip is about to happen, I'm going to say, hey guys, what are we going to do if the weather goes down at the final destination? What's going to be your closest alternate? Okay, it's going to be this. All right, so how are we going to handle this? And I'm going to see what they say. And then I can say, all right, good. That sounds good, but let's try this. This is for me, all the years of learning how to handle these certain situations. So it's one thing that I've learned myself from the fuck ups I've had, but I'm more like happy and more blessed, or whatever you want to say it, I guess, to say that I'm able to help the newer people that are coming into the industry to prepare them for things that they, that they won't fuck up like I did.
Yeah.
So I think that goes such a long way.
Sean, I'm sorry to interrupt, but like, how much? Because like some people say this, and they say these people should have to experience the fuck ups because they're not going to understand it if you just tell it to them.
No, I don't. I ask them what they think they should do. I'll give them a scenario and say, hey, what if this happens? What are you going to do? I want to know what you're going to tell me what you're going to do. It's a teaching moment for them. And so that's what it's all about. And it's never oh, this happens, this is what we're going to do. It's more of a, what are you going to do? And
No,
so
do you understand what I'm saying? Like some veterans will say they need to experience the fuck up, or they're not going to learn from it.
There's plenty of fuck ups to go around. There's plenty of situations to go around in our industry. So it's not like I'm giving them all the answers to all the hard.
I'm going to interject because this is what I'm hearing right now. Because I've had Sean on the podcast. I've known him a long time now. Same thing as parenting.
Yeah, and I've coached for years too. Same with coaching.
Coaching, same thing. But parenting even more important. You've had this whole thing where
sometimes that coach will let you experience the fuck up, and you'll get blown up when you're pulling left guard over and the line.
Well, here's the
when
thing
they
too.
think they know better.
I'm not going to be able to cover them 24/7 because there's going to be instances where I'm not going to. I'll be busy with something else, and it's up to them to handle it. So if they handle it and they fuck it up, then I'll say, all right, well, what should you have done? Do you think that was the best option, or what
could you have done differently?
Yeah, what should you have done differently? So as I do that, then I have some, as we learn and as we go, I'll start working on like almost a manual, a contingency manual to kind of have them to like reflect upon. So as they go on, as they grow, they can kind of learn from those and kind of look back and go, okay, this happened last time. What do we do? All right, let me go back to the contingency plan we worked on. All right, so now this may happen. I can be prepared for it. I think that's what it's all about. But
Sean, you never get a hot shot in there, and you're like, he just needs to learn today.
Oh yeah,
do what he wants to do.
Oh fuck yeah, dude! If they think they know it all, I'm like, go ahead, man. I will fucking sit back and watch them fucking crumble.
Not with people in the air.
No, not people in the air. Not a pilot. Like,
you're gonna learn this.
Oh, it's a half-mile VFR, and you can't get in. Oh, and you think you can't go for it? Why not?
No, you only have 10 people in that plane.
Yeah. Like the visibility's down to a quarter mile. Sure, do whatever you think you can do. No, it's
no, I get it. It's different with your field. Like you have people's lives at stake,
right? So. But I think for any industry and like, I definitely don't give them the answer straight up. It's more of I try to make it a teaching opportunity, and I don't want them to fall so hard on their face like I did.
Yeah,
sometimes they're going to need to. Well, sometimes they're going to need to. But I never had anyone when I was doing it to really help me, which would have been really nice because it could have been able to give me some guidelines to go by when I was fucking up that I could have learned from. But at least, hey, you know what? It happened. I'm still moving forward, and I'm able to give those opportunities to the younger, because I'm 52. I've been doing this for long years. A lot of these kids that come in and dispatch and do what I do now are coming out of college and an aviation degree, and they think their shit don't stink. And those are the kind I love to be like, all right, man, let's see what you got. And then I'll do it. And then I'll say, and then afterwards, let's say all hell goes to shit. Everything goes to shit. And we finally
40 people die. Yeah.
Right.
No.
Wait, what?
We're not doing that. Okay, sorry.
It's dark.
This isn't a movie with Gerard Butler in there.
No kidding. But once it's all said and done, I will sit down with my team and go, okay.
Yeah.
What can we learn from this? What do you think we should have done? And I'm going to let them, and I'm not going to say a fucking word. I'm going to let them give me all the answers they can give me and say, all right, good. I'm going to take what you gave me. I'll say some of those are great ideas. Here's some you didn't think of. Let's try this. And it's all from having the experience. It's somebody who's experienced in a field that knows the shit is just going to be able to help those guys grow even faster. Now, I'm not saying I know everything. To this day, I'm sure coming up down the road, I'll probably fuck something up or forget something or realize, oh shit, I never had that scenario happen, but it'll happen. But then I'll learn from it and be able to pass it on to the new people.
You know how to adapt to it.
Exactly.
Yeah, learn from it.
And then that's what I kind of teach, like my kid. I learned a lot of this, it's a lot of good life lessons just about, what I learned there is like whether I was coaching or I'm raising my kid or even friends or buddies or friends or whoever that are struggling in general in life. And maybe I have some experience that I can offer to them to say, hey man, let's try this next time. And then, that's the part I think I loved about coaching so much and having a team in the industry is be able to just watch these people grow and watch them learn. And then over time, shit will hit the fan and they get it. And a light bulb goes off and they're like, they fixed it before it happened, or they were able to make it less shittier. And that's when you can sit back and go, hell yeah, that's what it's all about. And the show can fucking go on.
Well, and I know you've heard this before, Sean. I can assume you've heard this. Is like, how did you know that?
What do you mean?
When someone says to you, like, how did you know that was going to happen? Or how do you know how to handle this?
When somebody asks me that, I'm going to say
like,
this exactly what I just told you. It's like, been there, because I learned the hard way. I can say, hey, I almost got fired from this. As a matter of fact, I'll give you a story. I had a flight go I had a trip set up brokered out a trip for another operator to take one of our customers from Florida up to Charleston. Now and they gave me a quote for Charleston, South Carolina. Mm-hmm. I thought it was for Charleston, West Virginia. That's where I wanted them to go to. So when they landed in Charleston, South Carolina and said, why is the ocean next to Charleston, West Virginia? I'm like, fuck, they went to the wrong city altogether. Now I got to call that operator and say, shit, I didn't cross-check that. You need to go to Charleston, West Virginia. Well, that's going to cost you another $5,000 for us to do that.
Oh no.
Now we eat that cost.
You got to.
So that's the kind of
that's
shit.
Doing right by the customer.
Right. So that's like a no-brainer. And
I would way rather be in Charleston, South Carolina.
No, and I get you, brother, but I had to sit down with the CEO and my boss, and they were on the verge of firing me for that. So that's something that'll never fucking happen again on my watch.
Which Columbus?
Which
Charleston? Like which Springfield are you going to?
As simple as you think like something. It's been like they give you a quote, they give you an itinerary. There's 3 or 4 times where I could have checked that and caught it, and I didn't. I totally fucked up.
Jesus.
So
paper trail is important.
Yep.
Nate, closing remarks.
So I've always been one of those guys, or one of those people that.
Thanks, man.
I've always been a fan of the routine. I've always liked the routine. Routine's comfort
budget
for me. And when things happen that take me out of that routine, it would always startle me, and I wouldn't know necessarily how to react, or I'd overreact. Thankfully, ever since I've known my wife, I've been able to actually work on that because I have someone else who sees things from a different perspective. So as I said earlier, if I have a plan or if I have a routine and something happens that takes me out of that, I always had a tendency to blow that way out of proportion. And I admit that. Blew it way out of proportion, made it a bigger deal than what it actually was. It caused issues and frustration in other areas that it didn't need to. And that's just how it was, because I liked the routine. I liked the steadiness, the consistency. I liked knowing what was expected and what was going to happen. And come to find out, things don't go the way you plan. Who knew? But thankfully, because of Jess, I've gotten better at how I react to things going differently. And then even when it comes to like financial things, what are you guys doing?
Nothing.
I don't know what he's doing.
Even when it comes to like if all of a sudden I have to have a car repair, like that just, we all agree, like car repairs fucking suck.
I hate it.
Everyone hates having.
What year is your car?
Huh?
What year is your car?
16 and
the other one.
change.
The Cobalt.
Yeah.
07?
07.
Yeah. Might need a repair here. There.
February. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And,
But Nate, how did she approach that in a way that you were amenable to? Because obviously that wasn't the way you were naturally. Like, how did she approach it in a way that didn't anger you?
So it took time. So I would overreact to something, and then she would actually bring it up like, okay, this is what happened. We handled it. Did you really need to react the way you did? And it was kind of,
I do that with my wife, and
it was kind of a
smacks me.
reflection, like, shit, I just got called out. Did I need to? No, it felt good at the time.
Did it?
But at the time, it felt good. Afterwards, not so much.
Good,
And I get reminded
venting.
of that. So like when car
I would
repairs,
like Jess to start putting her comments to my number instead of yours, so I can actually bring them up.
I am bringing up her comments. Fuck off.
I know. I'm trying to get her on the comment feed.
So
Yeah, but what comments do you not bring up because you don't
Exactly,
want to bring them up?
the ones that I don't need to.
Put them on.
Yeah,
feed,
exactly.
right? Yeah.
So, but
We love a viewer. We need more viewers on there.
she's watching just on YouTube
Okay, that's fair.
accounts.
Does count.
But like, for example, car repairs. Everyone hates having unexpected car repairs.
Not me. I love it.
But yet car repairs are something that we should expect to happen.
Yes.
They don't always happen at a convenient time. And
Rarely.
yeah, exactly. So there have been times where I've had to, take a car in to get repair, and it's like, fuck, it's going to cost X number of dollars. And I sit there and I'm all pissed, like, we got to spend this much money to fix this. And it's like, yeah, we can write that check. That's fine. We got that because we've prepared for that. There have been times where things have come up, and it's like, you do realize if we really wanted to, we could throw a grenade in your car and just blow it the fuck up and replace it.
So I think there's other laws there.
Like, huh?
That's illegal.
Yes, there are other laws because yes, it is a class 4. I get it, but still,
Collateral damage.
not if it's inside the car. It's not
Yeah, if there's a kid outside, they're gonna claim like emotional damage.
Flare up, how much gas is in it? Go on, Nate.
But no, like that was one of those things that would always, set me off. But yet we were prepared for it.
Yeah.
But neither one of us like writing that check. Like
No one likes spending money.
Yeah, like when taxes come due.
You like spending money on sexy things, not a carburetor.
Fair point. Carburetors can be sexy.
Carburetor.
That's an easy thing.
Depending
I
on
don't even know. I don't know car
the
parts.
core
I'm
barrel.
sorry.
Come on, man.
An engine chassis.
Is that a thing? Go
I
ahead.
don't know.
Well, I've had to replace an axle
I've heard of her.
Oh
recently.
yeah, an axle.
But yeah, I've had
This is just
Yeah.
lingering at this point.
or like on Jess's car, we had to have 2 back-to-back repairs a week apart. Because we couldn't get the key out of the ignition, and it
I
was
remember.
like the first time we got it fixed, and then a week later it started fucking up again. And
You say fixed.
well, it was a separate issue that caused the same problem.
Sure.
Which I'm sitting there like, really? Like you guys couldn't figure this out the last week when you guys had it for a week? But again, we were able to take care of that and handle it. And I want to sit there and just blow up and yell and scream at somebody.
Yeah.
And she's the cooler head. And she's like, no, we can take care of that. Like, yes, it costs this much money. We'll save that in a month. Like, okay.
Perspective, then you're talking about.
It is. And I don't necessarily understand that perspective. And then she tells me.
You do.
Okay, let me rephrase. I don't know that's the perspective. I don't know that's where we're at. And then she tells me, and I'm like, oh, okay. So it's not as big a deal as I'm making it out to be? Nope. Cool. Done. But it took another person to help me realize that. Because if I was still dealing with that same kind of shit on my own, I'd have a lot more gray hair.
But Nate, what you're saying is what I was saying. If you have your lane fixed, if your lane is good, then when you have these detours off the lane, it's easy to get back into your lane.
I get that, but my issue, the point I'm trying to make is I did not have that lane. I did not have the other lanes checked. It took another person to come into my life to have multiple lanes checked to where if an issue came up, it actually wasn't as big of an issue as
You
I
just to
my own.
help you realize it was a short detour off your lane.
So I look at this as something the show must go on. This is, let's go back to like the nuts and bolts of this show, right? There's been plenty of people. Sean's one of them. Nate probably the same. He just kind of rolled with it. Kristen, my girlfriend, same way. It's like, what's the topic tonight? I don't know. I try to get guests on the show, and even when we get people like we were going to have on tonight, or I have like a master distiller or a cigar person that doesn't know me, Jonathan, you know me well enough. It's like they're all asking us, like, is there like a Q&A? Like, is there an outline? All that stuff. Like, no, like we're gonna have a conversation. These are things that I have been able to get better at. I'm not great. Some people like it, some people don't. It's not a procrastination thing anymore. Is that I've actually been able to take that skill set of procrastinating and just talk to people. It's enjoyable to me.
Yeah,
I enjoy this. I don't like.
I thought we had a great conversation tonight.
Yeah, I like that. And like I could have easily said, let's not do a show tonight. Let's reschedule it, and let's have a smoke. And Nate's already heading over. Jonathan's on. Let's do another call. Like Sean might come by. It's just that the show must go on. Is that you can do, as long as you have a little bit of security of what you want out of what you're doing. I think that you can actually roll with a lot of obstacles.
We've had those times where something's come up and it's literally just two of us staring in front of the computer.
Yeah. And that's my point, is that
some of my favorite shows, by the way, were just the two of you.
Your time,
honestly,
Sean,
like you guys have put together some amazing shows with just the two of you.
So my point is, Jonathan, is that one of those things is that all this stuff, like what Nate was saying, Sean, shit happens, and it's how you actually learn from it. And I've been through not a lot of jobs, some relationships, and here I am still living a life, and I have tried my best to make it my life. And I am fortunate to be in a situation as we speak that I'm very happy with my life. It doesn't mean that previous experiences weren't good, weren't bad. The show must go on. You have one life.
Yeah.
And it's just finite. And
we didn't talk about that, Steve. So the show must go on. The inverse of that is pausing.
You can pause, but that show is still going on. It's whether or not you're broadcasting it.
Yeah.
And I think that that's on you. And I think that you can absolutely grow constantly when things are going well. That's, I think, probably the biggest takeaway for me, is that when things are going well, that can easily slip into taking things for granted. And I don't think that you are really pushing yourself to make the benefit of things going well to get better, or to continue that path. And I think that this is one of those things that I think that the show must go on is one of those things. And my closing remarks is that you can't be prepared for everything. You should try your best to prepare for what you can and what you know. But the best thing that you can do is surround yourself with people in that preparation, so that when things go bad or things are a surprise, you know that you can rely on your skill set and people around you.
Your board of directors.
That you're going to make it. Yeah, board of directors. Yeah, absolutely. You're going to make it. And I think that is something that people don't necessarily, when the ceiling's falling down on you, you take it personally and you take it upon your shoulders, and it's just you, and you alienate people around you, as opposed to living your life in a continuing path that it's like, yeah, stuff's happening in a negative way, but I have a good base because I've done the legwork, and I'll get a new job. I'll fix this, or I will work with that partner in business or in a personal relationship that it's not the ideal right now. Why is it not the ideal? Now you start actually looking at things is like, how do we make this still happen? That's what we did tonight with this episode.
Mhm.
That's what you can do with your personal life, your business life, whatever it is. You know that if you put the work in constantly,
Mm-hmm.
if a hurdle comes up in front of you, if an obstacle comes
You're
up,
creating your lane.
yeah, you're creating your lane. You're absolutely right. I think you can actually get past it, and it's not always going to go smoothly. In fact,
No.
it'll never go smoothly.
No.
Anyone that's successful that you look up to never had everything happen the way they planned it.
Right.
So, cheers, guys. Happy Whiskey Wednesday. We got a couple new guests coming up next couple weeks. We're looking forward to it. Cheers, guys.
Cheers, guys.
Yep.
I mean, I'm working on it. I got to turn that back on. So, just cut it out later.